Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. I am so excited you are here because I have a mega video full of Dollar Tree Christmas ideas. There are over 25 different DIY projects in this video. You guys are going to love all of these and they're so fun and they won't break the bank. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you do like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's go make some DIYs. It's been a little while since I've made a riser, so I'm kind of excited to show this to you guys. If you're new here, I love to make risers. I make them all year long, and they're so fun to use in your decor. I have so many different ideas. I'll link some videos down in my description box if you want to see those. But I love that Dollar Tree has these little containers, and they have these little scalloped edge on the lid. I've made some of the bigger ones, but this is the first time I've seen these little mini containers. So I'm just taking a candle holder. You can use one that you have at home. You could use a wood one. You could use Hobby Lobby also sells candle holders like this. They're like $1 more or something than Dollar Tree when you get them on a discount. But I'm just going to paint both of these the same color so they match. So I'm just using some white chalk paint. And you guys look at these adorable little hands down here. This is my little boy that came down as I was making this and he wanted to help. And I thought, well, how can I say no to that? So his paintings, this just shows you don't have to be perfect with this. But I let him paint both sides of it. At first I thought, oh, I'll have him do the inside. And then I was like, well, he did a pretty good job. So I do end up letting him paint when I turn it over on the surface that will actually show. But of course, on the bottom, it's not going to show that much because you're going to glue it onto the candle holder. So I'm just showing you here, he flipped it over and started doing that. And I think he did such a great job. And I just love that his cute little hands are here forever in this cute little video making this riser. And he'll remember making this. So that is kind of fun. You get to watch us do a little tag team here. So he's drawing the one piece while I'm painting the riser, and then we switch here in just a second. But it does take a few coats, maybe 3 coats of paint to get the coverage that you like, maybe even 4 depending on what kind of chalk paint you're using. So now I want this to really adhere. I don't want this to like fall apart or anything. I want it to be pretty sturdy. So I'm using some E6000 intermittently kind of around the edge of that candle holder. I'll even take a craft stick. I don't want this coming over the edge. I want it to look as clean as possible. So I'm kind of pushing it up and over onto the inside where that you won't see that portion because the container top is going to be glued to that. And then I'm just kind of spreading it out just a little bit, but I want to make sure I leave some of the area on the surface to put some hot glue because you're going to want that immediate hold. Now, you don't have to do the hot glue if you don't want to. You don't have to have that immediate hold if you're going to let it dry overnight. If you're impatient like I am, hot glue is your best friend. So I'm just going in the little areas I left open because you don't want to glue the glue. You don't want those 2 glues to mix because you will not get the type of hold that you're looking for. Now on a piece like this, it probably wouldn't matter so much because it's not like this is going to hang on a wall or anything, but just keep that in mind when you're doing that. I see a lot of people like put the hot glue right on top of the E6000 and that compromises the bond that you're going to get. So just be careful with that. So I'm going around cleaning it up because I don't want any of that glue showing. So I'm just doing my best to clean that up with that stick and my fingernail. Now, I love to distress things. You don't want to sand this because you're going to reveal the red that's underneath there. So I'm taking some mineral chalk paint, even like a cashew, an elephant color, some antiquing wax. I just kind of wanted to go really light on the distressing. But the reason I wanted to do it is because I feel like it really makes those scallops around that container lid really show up. You can see the detail in them. So it kind of gives them a little bit more definition. And if you look at pieces that you buy like in the store and things like that, a lot of them have a little bit of distressing or some type of definition on the edges of pieces like that. So I really feel that's what's going to elevate your piece to the next level. I went even over the little ridges in the candlestick there. You can even go over the top of it with some more white paint if you feel like you get it a little heavy and lighten it up a bit. But here's the finished project, and I think it is beautiful. This is going to be, I mean, of course you can use this all year round. It's not just Christmas, but these containers typically only come out at Christmas time, so that's why I'm putting it right here in this video. But I love this, and I intend to use this all over. And you get 2 lids, so you technically can make 2 projects. You just have to have another base for it. What do you guys think of this one, and are you fans of the risers? Because I have so many more new ideas to do with risers. I love that gingerbread is kind of all the rage right now. It's so fun and it's been popular for the last few years and it doesn't show any sign of like losing popularity or anything. So I have this little paint palette. It came from Dollar Tree and I have to admit I was scrolling through Pinterest and I saw something similar to this. It was done with like laser cut pieces and I thought this would be perfect to try this on. So I'm just sanding it down with my fingernail file here because I'm going to put paint on it. I want to do the best I can to get my paint to stick. If I had this to do over again, I might have spray painted the base coat on with just some of like the metallic spray paint. The hammered finish I think would have done a really good job giving a good texture to it. This worked fine. It just was a little time consuming because you have to thoroughly let that dry between each layer because you don't want it to flake off on the plastic. And so I just give it a couple good coats, and now I'm going to make this look as rusty as I can because I wanted this to look like give it really good aged look to it. So I start with a little bit of Merlot color. So it's like a dark maroon. And I kind of sparingly go over, you can kind of see, I'll dab my brush into it and then dab it off onto the paper towel. And then I kind of use that. You don't want a whole lot, but just enough to kind of get a little bit of color on there. And I just kind of go around in different areas, and this is just haphazardly. There's really no method to this. You just keep blending and doing this until everything looks good. So I'm taking some burnt umber and I put it right onto the little bit of Merlot that I was using, so it kind of blends in together now. And I will go over all of those spots kind of right next to or around or on top of where that Merlot color was to kind of help tone that redness, I guess redness would be the correct term. But I'm just kind of doing that, so it just kind of is giving this more of like an aged look. I want this to look like a little baking tin that's set out forever, like a little muffin tin that's set out for like years at the farm or something like that. So once I get all of the brown on there, and I will go back and use these colors back and forth through different layers. So I'm not technically done with each of them, but I'm moving on to the next step right now, which is to bring a little bit of orange. So it's just a pumpkin color, and you can see I dab it even into a little bit of the brown mixture that I have there, and I start going over. And this is where it really starts to kind of come to life, that you can kind of see like a little bit of rustiness. Now, I know a lot of you, every time I do a rust technique, say, oh, but you should try this or do this. There are so many different rust techniques out there. So if you know something that you like better or that works better, I mean, definitely do that. There's the method of doing like some Mod Podge or spray adhesive and then putting cinnamon all over. There's different techniques with spray paint that you can do. I mean, there's so many different, even just a little bit of like the burnt umber would be fine too. But as you can see, I'm just going all over with that orange. And then if I need to tone it down, I'll go back in with some of the brown over the top of it. And I don't even clean my brush off between the layers. Like that's how much you're just kind of mixing and blending all of these. So what really gives it a nice touch is a little bit of yellow, and just the littlest amount. Because if you look at actual rust, you can kind of see like that bright yellow, like little pieces of that in there. Not a lot, but just a little bit. It brightens up that orange and it gives it a much more authentic look. So I just keep going around until everything looks okay. But the last step that you need to do is take your silver and go back over the top of all of that, just very lightly tapping. And so it gives it kind of like that presence of that metallic, like the actual pan on top of like the rust is coming from up underneath. So hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing here. You just want it to look rusty and crusty, and I think it's great. So now I just put some Mod Podge on because I want to seal this really good because it is on that plastic. We did sand it, so it should stick all right, especially once it gets a good cure. But I definitely want to protect it with the Mod Podge. So I do front and back with this same method. This pack of ornaments or tags came from Dollar Tree, and they have these adorable little laser cut snowmen on top of them. They're all, I think there's two different of each one. They all have cute little designs on them. They look like they're dressed for winter. They're adorable. So I just take a little strip of fabric that I've torn off of just some red and cream striped fabric that I have that's perfect for Christmas. And I'm just gonna tie that just in like a cute little knot on here. And I don't want it to be directly in the center. I just kind of just place it where it looks good to your eye. So if you like it in the center, I mean, go with that. This is your project when you make it, so you do differently what you want. And I mean, it's gonna be beautiful. And if you do recreate anything, I always love to see them. So hop on over to Instagram and send me a picture because I love to see the things that you guys create. So I'm just cutting this off on a little bit of an angle here, and then I will fray the ends, just pull some of those threads out so it has that nice little look there of being aged. I snipped off the end of some greenery, and I'm just taking the end of that with some hot glue, and I'm just sticking it kind of into that knot, so it's just kind of peeking out, kind of like if this was, you know, wrapped up as a gift that was set outside for years and forgotten about. So it's got this cute little pine bough and then some little berries on there for some extra little texture. And then I had punched some holes in the top with my Crop-A-Dile. And so whether you glue these, I don't suggest really gluing them on the paint on plastic. So you really do just use a hole punch, or if you have your Crop-A-Dile, it does a little smaller punch. But I'm just tying off the twine in the holes, and I thought it would be really cute to put the knots at the front and then just cut the tails off really good. And then I glue that cute little gingerbread man on there. I'm just trying to decide where I actually want him, and I find the spot that he is the cutest to me. So you just decide, you could put a couple on there, but isn't that such a fun little ornament? I mean, whether it's for a kitchen or somebody who bakes or just a cute little ornament on your tree, I just thought this was so fun. I'm going to take this piece of Dollar Tree fencing, and this is typically found at Dollar Tree in the springtime, but I buy them like 4 or 5 at a time. I always have some in my stash because you can do some really wonderful projects with them. So they're very easy to cut, but you may want to use an older pair of scissors. That way you're not going to ruin any, but I'm just going to cut the stakes off of the bottom, and then it just curls up like this. Now it's typically meant to go like in a straight line. You can connect one section to another section, but I'm going to bend this up into a circle shape here. And it does have these little clamps on the side, which would work just fine if you want to stop here and have them connect just like this, but it doesn't quite make the most perfect of circles. So as I'm bending this, I'm deciding, because it kind of just really wants to fold really kind of funky right there. So I decide to cut these off completely, and I'm going to use another method to close this off. So again, these are just plastic, a little bit on the thicker side, but you can still use your scissors. Just be very safe as you're doing this to not cut yourself, but they're pretty easy to cut. After I have all of the excess pieces removed, I'm just going to take some zip ties to close this. Now, it doesn't matter the color of zip ties you're going to use unless you're going to leave this black, but I'm going to spray paint mine, and so it truly doesn't matter the color of zip ties, but they're just in the automotive section at Dollar Tree. And I want to line up the edges of this so they fold really nice and neatly over one another. So I'm just going to start my zip tie. I'll do one at the bottom, and then I will do one closer to the top. Now, as I was doing this, I felt that there was a little bit of a sharpness there from where I had cut that little connector piece. So I just took my fingernail file and went over it a couple of times on both of them, and it smoothed it right out. So here I'm just attaching the zip tie to the top portion here, and then as I have these both connected, I can make sure to line up the edges exactly where I want them, and I kind of overlap them so it looks like one piece there. So this just looks like a continuous cylinder shape here that was made like this and welded like this, and you're not seeing that it was a piece that you put together that was like a flat piece. And I just tightened those zip ties both at the top and at the bottom. Now, one trick that I do is, because there's all of these little extra pieces here that do want to kind of keep that flat shape that this originally had. So if you lightly blast it with a heat tool, I'm sure maybe even a hairdryer might get hot enough to do this. You just want to kind of bend these pieces in. Just be careful not to burn yourself, but I'm just blasting those, bending them inward a little bit, so that way they kind of have a curve to them rather than kind of stick out. You can kind of see at the top there, those little curvy pieces are kind of more sticking out rather than bending in. So I just take my time and go through and blast each little section and kind of give that a little bend so that way it takes its shape. I flip it upside down, and I also blast the base of this to kind of give a little bit more curvature to that solid base piece there. So I'm just running my heat tool along that, and then I will just kind of bend it into shape here, more into a cylinder here, so you can kind of see how I do that. I even will like roll it on the table just to give it a nice curvature to all of the pieces, so that way it doesn't, I mean, we want this to look high end. We don't want it to look like it's a piece of plastic. We really are trying to go for that look to fool somebody that it's like actual metal. As I did this, I realized there's a little gap on that space at the end, and so when I set it up, I was just kind of seeing how it looked, and I did need to close that a little bit. So I'm just putting a little bit of hot glue down in there, and then I will just clamp that with just some of the Dollar Tree clamps to hold that until that dries, and that's just going to seal that there at the bottom, and that way it will sit nice and flush. So now you can see we have this perfect cylinder shape, and I did take it outside into my garage and I spray painted it with this spray paint here. I'm loving this color. It's not quite a white and it's not super creamy, but it works really well with plastics, and it has a matte tone to it. So I really like the way that it looks on this metal here. it's not metal, it's plastic, but you get what I'm saying. So now I just want to have this have a little bit of an aged look. And so we want some of that black to come through. At least I do. You could definitely skip this step if distressing things was not your style. But I go along all of the edges with my fingernail file, and this is just going to let some of that black show through. So it looks like it's been actual wrought iron that was painted, that maybe has sat and aged for a long time. We're going for that really authentic, like vintage look here. I go through all of the little curves, as you can see here with my fingernail file. I stick that in, and anywhere it looks like natural aging might occur, I'm just going to take my time and focus on that. I even take my fingernail and kind of go over some of the edges there. The paint is fairly easy to scrape off on here, and so it was very easy to do that. So now you could stop and leave it just like this, but I really wanted to make this have a very wintry vibe, look like winter wonderland. So I'm taking some Mod Podge, and then I also bought, this is just some fake snow that I bought, like a glittery snow. I bought it at Walmart, and I also have a couple different sizes of glitter that I'm using. I saw one of these at Vintage Market Days that had this really cool finish with the glitter, and I really loved the way that it looked, very wintry. You could easily leave it, and then you could have this for all year long. But again, I just really wanted to bring that really glistening look to it. So here I'm using my Mod Podge, and this is in one of those containers I got at Dollar Tree. I put my antiquing wax in it, and a lot of you messaged me and said it would be perfect for Mod Podge. So thank you for the suggestion. I totally listened, and I have my Mod Podge in one of those containers, and it's really easy to just squirt along all of the edges of this. And you don't have to be super perfect, because you're going to, as you can see, I'll like smush it down into all of my mixture of the different glitters and that snow. And I just go, you can see I'm not super careful, but you know, you want a decent amount on there. Just depends on how much glitter you want, and I just will roll it in there, and this just really gives it a nice shimmer and shine. I am not normally a big glitter fan. However, at Christmas time, I really do like a little bit of that sparkle. I feel like if you're gonna do it, that's the time of the year. So again, it's a matter of personal preference. You could stop here, but we're just going for a really fun wintry sparkle look. I am really happy with the final result. I really think this looks very beautiful. I love the contrast with that white color, the shimmer, and then that rustic looking tree. I just picked this tree up at the local craft store. You can get any type of tree or any type of flower or something to stick in there, but I really think this does bring that woodsy vibe into your home for Christmas with a little sparkle. Are you someone like me who every time you see these ornaments in these little packages at Dollar Tree, you pick up a couple of packages and then you get home and you're not really sure what to do, if you want to leave them like this or use them in crafting? I thought it would be fun because it is such a simple way to get ornaments, especially if you're on a tight budget to cover a tree. But I thought it would be fun to try something and kind of make them like plus them a little bit, make them really stand out. And so I'm going to take my crocodile and cut some holes in the opposite end of these. So they'll have a hole in the top where you hang them, and then I'm going to hang them in like strips. So I'm going to do 2 of 3 and then 1 of 2, because that's just how many snow flakes came. But you could buy a couple packages and do as many of these as you wanted. But I thought it would look so fun to kind of have these big like show-stopping snowflakes on there rather than just one here or there. So on the top one, it needs 2 holes, and if there's a middle one, it needs 2 holes, but the bottom one, you do not have to punch a second hole in because there's not going to be anything attached to that one. And I give these a really good coat of paint, white, front and back. Spray paint would be the much better way to go. It was like freezing cold and snowing at my house. It was not great weather for me to spray paint in, or I definitely would have done that. But once you get your paint on there, you're going to put some Mod Podge, because I really, and you could leave them, but I really want these to shine and sparkle. So I'm going to put some glitter on them to really give them that extra special Christmas touch. So I have my Mod Podge in this little squirt bottle or squeeze bottle rather that I got at Dollar Tree, and it's a great idea to keep your Mod Podge in. And then I'm just going to brush that all over all of these. And you can just see I'm just making sure that that Mod Podge is all spread out. And then I have a couple different kinds of glitter that I'm using. The first, these both just came from Walmart. The first one has some bigger flakes in it, and then the second one is just the fine glitter, and it's just like whatever cheap brand they sell at Walmart. It's nothing special that I went to grab. But I'm just gonna dump this all over, and then I go in with the fine glitter on top and mix that mix that in. Now this will actually be the back of the snowflakes. I'm going to turn it over and do it again. I'm just showing you the kind of glitter it is there. But I'm going to do this on the other side as well, and I do a little bit more, pay a little more attention to that side since it's going to be the front. This is just kind of the back, but I mean, honestly, you could hang it either way and it's not going to make a huge difference. For the front of these, I am just taking the excess glitter and I had put it into that little cup. I kind of picked up my paper and then just poured it all into that cup. So that's what I'm using for the rest of this. And I'm just going to pay attention to where I'm putting that Mod Podge, get into all the little nooks and crannies there. And then I will sprinkle that glitter. You can see just making sure that I get a nice good coverage there, and then I'll clear this glitter every time. So that way I'm just recycling the same glitter. I'm not having to use more. I mean, the little bit of glitter goes a long way. You guys know this. So this is all of my years of sanding Dollar Tree glitter away. This is me now placing glitter all over everything. But I feel like at Christmas time, you really can get away with that. And I know a lot of you have commented and been like, I totally agree. And a few of you have been like, absolutely not. I don't want glitter in my house. So, you know, to each their own, right? So now I'm just taking a little bit of twine and I'm going to tie them together. So I just feed it through the little hole. And so we have two that are tied together there. And then I will take the top one and tie it to that middle one. And so it's going to give you this like tiered look of these hanging. I think that they're just going to be so beautiful. Now, when I cut the little twine, you could use wire. I just figured most of you probably had twine and maybe not all of you had wire. So I just tied it off, cut the tails off, and then I put a little bit of glue to kind of secure that knot so it's not going to come untied. And so now I'm just going to tie that other layer on here. So I'll just take a little bit of the twine and feed it through. And it goes through pretty easily on these holes that are there or that you punch with your crocodile. But if you need to get like a little bit of tape on the end of them to help them feed through that hole or something, if you don't have thin enough twine, then definitely, you know, you can do that. That kind of helps. But I feel like that went through fairly easily for me. And then again, I'm just going to repeat this process everywhere that there is a hole to link them together. So you can see here, I've got this fed through. I'm just going to tie the knot. That's funny. I'm going to tie the knot. I already did that. You guys, I've been married almost 20 years. Can you believe that? Next year, like in a couple months, will be my 20th wedding anniversary. So there's a little fact about me. I don't know. Tying the knot made me think about that. So I just thought I'd share with you. So I feel like that's kind of a great milestone to make it to, right? So anyhow, you can see here how they hang like this. I'm just seeing how exactly they do hang. And then I will just tie a little bit on the top. So you need something to hang this from. So I'm going to feed my loop through from the front to the back, and then you have your loop that you're just going to open up. And I apologize for my painted fingers here, but sometimes in crafting that's just how it goes. And I pull pull it tight, and then I'm just going to tie a knot in the top of this so that way you can hang it. And then I just trim those off and I just kind of fray them a little bit with my fingers there. And I just think I'm going to go ahead and repeat the whole process with all of the rest of these. But I mean, look how cute this is. You guys, can you imagine having these all over your tree? How beautiful that would be. I mean, it's just kind of a stunning piece that you take just something that could be, you know, a one here and there, and you combine them together like this. And I just think it's a showstopper. I love it. Let me know what you guys think of these. I love that Dollar Tree carries these Christmas tree cutouts because they're so fun to do different projects with. So I have a few of these in my stash. So I just picked one up and I'm just going to place this on a little piece of cardboard, and I fill the little hole with some hot glue and scrape that off. So that way it takes care of that. There's not going to be that hole. You're not going to see that anymore. I picked this napkin up. I found these at Home Goods. That's where I get a lot of my napkins because they always have such a good selection. If you have any other tips on places to look for napkins, I do like the Dollar Tree ones. I feel like the Home Good ones are a little bit higher quality, so I feel like they're a little easier to work with and they tear a lot less than the ones from like Dollar Tree or Dollar General. But you can still find some really cute ones there. But if you have any other suggestions, let me know down in the comments on where to look for fun napkin designs. Now I'm just placing some Mod Podge down on the sign here. That's going to give us a good base to place this napkin down on. And this napkin does the pattern kind of where the napkin folds in half. The Christmas trees kind of change a different angle on there. So you can see on the top half of the tree, it looks like they're upside down on the bottom half of the tree. It's just the way the napkin is. There's no getting around it. So I just decided to embrace it and we're good to go. I'm just using my hand and my fingers to work from the middle out to spread that napkin down and make sure that it has a firm hold. And then I'm going to go around the edge with a fingernail file here and gently file back that napkin. Now I have this vellum in my scrapbook stash that looks like music, like sheet music, music notes, and I thought it would be really pretty to layer on top of this napkin. So I'm just placing down some more Mod Podge, and honestly, I wish I had done, I kind of go back and forth on this. I wish I had just done some Elmer's glue, like the glue stick on this. I was trying to stick with Mod Podge for this particular design. It does wrinkle this up quite well, and it actually works to my favor, so it kind of depends on the look you're going for. If you want this vellum to lay flat, definitely use a glue stick that like disappears. I love the purple glue, Elmer's glue stick, but it worked fine for what I end up doing with it. So I embraced all of the wrinkles that come with this, and I'm just, you can see, getting a little bit of the scrap paper that was left over to cover the parts of the tree where the paper did not reach. And then I just trim that up with my scissors. Now I'm taking some antiquing wax and I'm going to rub over this. It's going to age it a bit. And this is when I realized that the wrinkles actually are going to be a good thing because I can highlight those. And I'm just taking one of these, this is like an antiquing stamp pad here that I have, and I'm rubbing it over all of those wrinkles, and you can see it's going to highlight all of those. So it's just giving it an extra aged look, which I really did end up liking. Now I have this little snowflake hanging thing there that I got the first snowflake from. It came from Dollar Tree. All of these actually came from Dollar Tree. So I'm just taking some different sizes and shapes of different snowflakes to put on here. A bunch of snowflakes would look really cute if you wanted to do a whole grouping of them instead of what I end up doing. So just keep that in mind. But I stain one with antiquing wax, and the other two I decided to paint white. And since it's Christmas time, I thought it would be really fun to add glitter, because at Christmas time I like glitter. Just a little bit, not a ton, but I thought it would be fun. So I just put some Mod Podge over the top, sprinkled that glitter on. You can see on the little bottom one here, I'm just putting it on, and then I'm just dumping this glitter on. It's just glitter I picked up at Walmart. There's all sorts of different sizes, different colors. I just love the real icy looking type of glitter. Just a little shimmer here and there. I don't love it all over my house, but it really is kind of fun to add a little sparkle to some different projects. Now this came in a package of like 10 from Hobby Lobby. It was in the wedding section. It's like a place setting for like a dinner table. And I'm using the back side of it that I stained to make this little sign. And I have these little letters that I bought from somebody who cuts letters, like sells wooden alphabets. So you can, I just found them locally, but you can check like your craft fairs, Etsy, different places that will sell wood cutouts. Ask them if they'll do an alphabet for you, or see if they sell alphabets for you. Pick up something at Dollar Tree, use stickers. There's so many different options. I just happen to have the letters that spelled out Noel, so that's what I'm using here. And I went around the sign to add a little bit of embellishment with a paint marker. Just kind of add a little something. It looked a little plain just to have the Noel on there. So I'm just deciding where I want to place all of these snowflakes and where I want to glue them and where I want the sign. This is where it would be really cute, as I mentioned earlier, to have like several different snowflakes in different, more antique wax and some more of the sparkly ones, maybe non-sparkly ones or silver or gold, and just do a whole array of snowflakes on here rather than having the cute little sign on there. It's just a matter of personal preference. Make it your own. I'm just here to inspire you, so definitely do what you can or what you like. If there's something you don't like, that's totally fine. Just change it to be something that you do like. I felt like it needed a little extra texture of something to break up all of that wood pieces that I had glued there. So I just made a little finger bow out of twine. Just a couple loops was all that took. And I'm just going to tie that down the middle, and I will just glue that right at the corner top of the Noel sign, just with a little teeny bit of hot glue, just to bring that in there. Now, if you had something else you wanted to use instead of a bow, I know I add a lot of bows to things. That would be great too. Now, I thought I'd tie that twine in by on the trunk of the tree, wrapping that around several times very tightly. Kind of breaks up, makes it look like it's maybe tied in burlap or something like that. And along the back, I'm just going to do a strip of hot glue at the top and the bottom, just to lay those pieces down, and that's going to hold that twine in place. In that package of the small snowflakes, there were these gold stars, and I thought it would be darling to add that to the top there. So it does come with a little sticky foam piece there, but you definitely want to add some glue if you want it to be permanent. So just by adding a little bit of glue, I add that to the top, and that just really adds a little extra level of sparkle and something to the top of the tree. And how cute would this be, layered with some really fun Christmas dishes like on your shelf or your china hutch, something like that. I feel that it's flat. You could add a little something on it to hang it somewhere or put it inside like a wreath on your door, but it's flat enough that you'd be able just to kind of tuck it in somewhere so it just has that really rustic Christmas feel that it's going to bring into your decor. I love doing DIYs that incorporate the true meaning of Christmas, and I'm going to use this little laser cut nativity from Dollar Tree. They generally every year have something very similar to this that you can do this with. Now I'm taking this sign, this is from their summer line here, and I really like this seashell. So a true crafter, you take things apart and think, oh, maybe I'll use this. So into my stash it went. But I'm taking this sign, and I love these square signs that they do this time of year. I'm just removing the little frame. Now the frame is in 4 separate pieces that you can see here, and I'm just using my putty knife to kind of slide under them to tear it off, because it is kind of, the adhesive that it uses is on like a paper that the sign is printed on. So you'll just have to rip that off and make sure that you have all clean edges for your frame. Now after I do that, I just am taking some scrapbook paper. I love this burlap, and so that's kind of the look I was going for. You can personalize this to anything you would like to use. And I'm just flipping this sign over, and I'll just trace along so I know kind of where to generally cut. Now I don't cut right on the line. I kind of cut a little bit to the side of it because I do want to sand it to get a really clean edge. And I'm using my most favorite glue. You guys have seen me use this so many times. This is the Purple Elmer School Glue, and I really have such great success with this and crafting. I don't ever have pieces that peel up or anything. And I just push this down, and then this is a really good trick to do when you're using your glue sticks, is to use a brayer like this. And this is going to make sure that you have a really good bond. It is going to get any bubbles or anything like that out. Now what I like to do with my scrapbook paper is I take my fingernail file here. I love to use fingernail files when I'm crafting because they get into all those little nooks and crannies. And I just sand in a downward motion away from the paper that I just glued on and get a nice crisp clean edge. You can see that paper peel right off there. It looks like that paper was meant to go on that surface. Now I'm choosing to paint my frame that goes around this picture black, and so I'm just painting all of the pieces that go to this frame here. I left the pieces of the frame in the order that they were, where they went on the sign, so that way I knew where to exactly glue them back on. So I'm just taking a couple pieces from this nativity. It does have the little wise men with it, and it has like a little stand that holds them up. I mean, it's absolutely darling. But I really just want Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus here, along with the little stable. I thought this was so cute. And we're going to use this. Now, I kind of had them set up like that, but I'll set them up a little bit different. You'll see on the surface how I end up doing it. I wanted them to be a dark color of the antiquing wax rather than using like a baby wipe like I normally do to just kind of lightly brush it on. So I really went thick with the antiquing wax on this to have that. I wanted a very natural wood look to it, but I did want it to contrast with what I'm doing. So I did a very heavy coat. Now I just found this Joy to the World sheet music online. I just searched in Google Joy to the World sheet music, free, printable. Several came up, so you could do whatever hymn you wanted or whatever song for Christmas time or for whatever time of year you're doing a DIY like this. But it was totally free, and I am just tearing off the edges here, and we're going to age this paper. So when I go around the title, I definitely want you to see that title there, the Joy to the World. So I take my time going around that as I'm tearing this. Now I have this little kit. I've used it before. It helps with making like aged documents, aged papers. I don't know why I said documents, but you get my drift here. So it's just going to make this look really old. Now you could tea stain this. You could do several different processes. I just happen to have this kit for my scrapbooking days, and so I'm just using it. And you just kind of dip. It's like an ink, very light ink, and it's got this little dabber that you will dab in that, and then you just kind of rub and buff it on there, and it gets this nice aged look to the paper. Now I didn't tear the bottom of my sheet music because I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to place it on my picture. So after I kind of used my stable there for some spacing. I decide exactly where I want to tear this, and then I will go and I do distress that edge too of the paper. So now to make it look really old, I'm just crumpling it up just as if it was garbage or something here. You just want to make sure to get lots of wrinkles in it, and then just lightly, just be careful not to tear it as you're undoing this. I mean, I guess some tears would look okay, but you just want to have it mostly intact here. And then I'm taking a little bit of this ink and I'm just rubbing it directly over very lightly, and it hits each of those little wrinkles and it just makes them pop with a little bit of texture and definition. Now to make this like more sturdy and it's not going to have water that ruins it or anything, I do put a coat of Mod Podge both on the front and the back. And I'm using my favorite school glue here again and just placing this on there. Now you could easily, mine goes over down to the edge. You could center this to be completely in the center if you would like. There are so many different ways and things you could do this. I do use my brayer here to make sure that all of the wrinkled paper gets put down. You want to make sure you have a good bond and it's not going to peel back or fall off. And then just using hot glue, I just carefully piece all of the frame pieces back and hot glue those just to make sure that they're all where they were. Now I'm going to place my stable and my nativity here. And before I glue them down, I just kind of play around. And this is when I decide to put Mary and Joseph on the side of the stable, just because I didn't feel like you could see them super well if they were placed on the stable, and with the spacing of the frame that I was using, I thought they would look cute kind of on the side there. So that's why I decided to do that. But I'm just using some of this, I think it's Aleen's tacky glue. You get it at Dollar Tree, and I've heard a lot of crafters use it. This is actually the first time that I've used it, and it holds pretty well. I just didn't want hot glue, and I didn't have any super glue close by, so I went ahead and used that. Now I do want to put a beaded handle back on this like it originally came, the sign. So I'm just taking some wood beads and I am staining them with just some antiquing wax, and I'll just thread them onto some twine. And then all I will do after I thread these is just tie it on to the top of the frame. So I just push that. When I put my frame on, I made sure to line the holes up that were originally there from the little shore sign with the seashell, and so I just tuck that through, and then I just tie it on either side of this sign. That way, if you decide you want to hang this, you definitely can. If you want to leave it and not mess around with putting anything on the top, or just put some twine or some beautiful ribbon or something, that would be completely up to you. Personalize it any way that you would like. I just love incorporating the true meaning of Christmas into the Christmas DIYs, and I thought that I would definitely take an opportunity right now to do that. I love the simplicity of this. I love this Christmas hymn. I love the rustic way that this looks, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful in my home for Christmas. I'm going to take some of these tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, and we're going to make some cute little snowman ornaments out of them. So I'm making 3, so you need 6 blocks for each one that you make. So I took 18 blocks, and I'm going to paint 12 of them black. So I'm going to use these for the cute little snowman's hat. So I just paint them all over, and then the remaining the remaining 6, I just paint white. Now I love to distress things, so this is totally optional, but you just go ahead, and I wanted these to look pretty vintage and aged. So I just go around each of the edges. This took a little bit of time to get all of these edges because these are so small, but it actually ends up looking really, really cute. So I do the same thing to both the black and the white. Now to make the snowman's face, I'm just putting some glue on the side of one of the white blocks and gluing it to another. And I just repeat this process through all 3 snowmen here. I love to do things in 3s and ornaments that are easy like this. I have 3 kids, and so I feel like if they were ever to divide these up, or if I wanted to tie them to a gift, they would each get one. So now I just glue all of the black blocks the same way, so in pairs, so on the side to side, all in groups of 2. For the hanger, I'm just using some twine, and this took a little bit of trial and error. I tried to glue this between the 2 blocks, but it left a lot of bulkiness in between the 2 blocks, so I couldn't get a good seal. It didn't look clean or nice. So what I've decided to do is I'm not tying a knot in this at all. I just put a little glue, I let it dry so it's tacky, and it's kind of just warm to the touch, and then I will just use my finger to kind of get a good seal on the end of that twine, so it makes it like a nice thin point. You can just see how I do that. Make sure, if you're at all sensitive to heat, either skip this step or do like the finger protectors or anything like that. But I do that to all three, and then I'm just going to put a little glue on the back of one of the hats in the little crack that's there from where the two are glued together, and I'm going to place that down. Now, I was just going to go with this, and then I was like, that really doesn't look super clean. We can probably give it a little bit more protection and make it look a little bit nicer. So what I did is I got some craft sticks or popsicle sticks, and I just cut a couple little like rectangle pieces off. You can see when you cut them, they go flying. And I thought, okay, this is going to fit over this perfectly. I just paint it black so it matches. You can distress it, you can do whatever. And then I just use that to glue onto the back to cover up where that you can see that twine. So it just kind of masks it a little, has a little more finished look, and then it's also there as an added layer of protection so it's not going to like rip out. So now I'm just going to paint some cute little faces onto the snowman. So using the end of a paintbrush, I just dot a couple eyes, and you can get as creative as you want. Use a paint marker, you could use a Cricut, you could, if you're really good at painting, you could, I'm sure, make some darling little faces on these little snowmen, but I'm just using some dots because I feel like I can't mess those up too badly. So I just do 2 for the eyes, and then I do 5 for the mouth. And that first one, I didn't really do the dot like right in the middle of the snowman, but on these other 2 I did, and I like how that looked. But you can just play around with it and do what looks best to you. For the carrot nose, I just took the remainder of that popsicle stick that I had used, or the craft stick, and I just did my best to kind of cut out some type of shape that resembled a carrot. So kind of like a longer triangle with rounded edges. So you can kind of see, or however, like, I mean, I did my best. I mean, carrots come in all shapes and sizes. So I'm sure that, and if sometimes, actually, I was at the craft store the other day and I saw that you could buy like a little bag of actual carrots, like in the bead section, like they're like little beads. So those would work perfect too. But I mean, be creative. Use whatever you want. If you have like a little star, cut like the little points off of the star to use. I've done that before. But I painted them orange, and I put some little ridges on them with a pencil, and then I'm just gluing them on. Now you can have them overhang the edge if you want. You can see that there's like a little short nose, there's a long nose. That just makes them so much fun. So now I'm going to glue the brim of the hat on. So I'm taking 2 more of those black blocks, the ones that do not have the hanging tag on them, and I'm gluing them flat, as you can see. And then I will take these other 2 and glue them upright to that. So that makes this cute little hat for this snowman. Now the fun part of this is that you get to embellish the hats or make them, I mean, you could leave them just like this. They're totally cute and fine like that. But I thought it was kind of fun to make each of them just a little bit different. And so some of them I put some ribbon around. So you can see the one up in the upper right. I did a little bit of that birch ribbon from Dollar Tree. This is the same ribbon I'm using in my Christmas tree this year, this stripe ribbon. So I thought I would tie this in with that. So I just wrap it around, and then on this one I decided to take another little piece of that ribbon and make a cute little scarf around him, like he's staying warm. I mean, there's endless possibilities of things that you can do. Since he doesn't have much of like a neck to tie this around on, I'm just putting a couple glue dots on the little corners in the front to fold each piece of the ribbon over. And so that's going to help it stay. And then you can also put one in the middle of the ribbon to help it kind of stay closed. And then I cut a little fringe, and I'm just fraying it with my finger there. This is how I'm cutting the fringe here on both sides. And then I just take my finger and pull some of those threads away to make it look like it's got that cute little fringe on the end. So for the next one, or actually I'm still doing this one here. I just thought it would be, let's see, which one am I doing? I don't know. I do all sorts of things to each of them, but this one I'm just putting a little bit of the greenery and just cut a little end off of that. I think that came from Dollar Tree, that greenery. And I'm just going to glue that on with a couple of little berries. You could do some cute little bells. You could do, I mean, again, the possibilities are endless. So you can make these as fun as you want and some different things. So when I do berries, I like to do them in groups of 3, because I feel like that's kind of more of a natural thing that you see them in. So just keep that in mind. Don't overdo it with the berries. A little goes a long way with those. For this next one, I do a little bit of paint on one of these little wood snowflake stickers from Dollar Tree and just put some glitter on it to kind of give it a nice little shiny look. And then I glue that onto this little third snowman's hat. What I did do this one in the middle, I forgot that I did this, but because I left him kind of the way he was because he had a scarf, but I ended up taking some of the little jingle bells that I have. They're like rusted bells. I picked them up at JoAnns this year. It's like a garland, kind of comes like the pipberry does, but I decided to wrap those around, and it kind of just gives a little bit of like a textural element to him. So you can kind of see up close there, the little jingle bells that are sitting there. Kind of breaks it up a little bit and gives him something fancy. But look at how beautiful these are. I think they're so cute. They're going to be so fun hanging on my tree. And again, if I decide to tie them on a gift for one of my kids, I've got 3 of them. And it really didn't take much more time doing 3 of them than just one of them. What do you guys think of these little snowmen? I found these darling little house signs at Dollar Tree on one of my recent trips there, and I think they're so cute. Now, I bought a second one because there was only 4 letters on the one sign, and if you want to add extra letters or anything, I bought another one so that way I can take off, and you can see I'm just going to twist this last one off. It does have like a little metal rod going through them, so I just slipped that off, and I'm just going to add that to the end of my sign. Now, if you can come up with a 4-letter word, I mean, definitely just stick with that, but I like the fact that I could customize it a little. So I'm just using this DAP Rapid Fuse, and I'm just going to glue that last little house onto here. Now you can use, you can freehand your letters on there. You can buy the little metal letters at Dollar Tree. You can use, I'm using some wood cutout letters. You can buy alphabets of those at craft stores on Etsy. You can also use your cutting machine or stickers to do different letters, but I'm just going to paint this the color that matches my decor. It does take a couple of coats to get rid of the letters that are currently there, so you don't see those. So you can customize this for whatever season, whatever colors your decor is. It's a really fun and simple project to do. Now, I had the letters, I could have done the word Noel on the 4-letter one, which would have been really cute just to leave it, but I have the letters Merry here, and since I added that extra one, that's what I'm going to go with. But just to give you an idea, if you happen to find one of the houses and want to make it for Christmas, Noel would be perfect to put on the 4 little houses. So I'm just going to glue these letters on. I just leave them in the natural wood tones because it matches the little beads in between. But again, you can customize this. I'm just giving you some great ideas for when you find it, what you can use to do it. Even some little like rub-on transfers on each of the houses would be really cute. But I think this turns out beautiful. It's very simple. It's an easy project, and it really does add a great touch of color to your decor. And even the way that it was originally was very cute, but this just makes it a little bit more, have a personal touch to it. What do you guys think of this? Was this an easy project you guys would try? It is not really a secret that a lot of us crafters love to use calendar pages for DIYs. So I'm just taking some calendars that I have in my stash or that I have used. One of them was from last year, one is from this year, and then this one I'm looking at right now is actually next year's that I found in Dollar Tree, and I found them in a few different Dollar Trees all in the last couple of weeks, so start looking for those if you haven't already. On the back of these calendar pages, they have a little teeny square of the different months, so you can kind of get a preview of what pages are in there before you buy the calendar. And a lot of calendars do this, not just Dollar Tree calendars. So you might already have some of these in the stash. Now I'm just showing you that on Dollar Tree, I really wish that that bigger square was a Christmas one that they put there. Every year I look at that and think, dang it, they have some fun ones there, but I just wish they were Christmas ones. I'm just going to be using the December one, and I'm just going to do 3 of these just to kind of give you an idea, because you may not have all 3 of these calendars, but you might have one of them, or just to give you an idea to use for some different calendars that you might have. And these are just some wooden tags I picked up at my craft store, and I have just a sheet of craft paper, and I'm going to use my trusty Elmer's school glue here. I love this purple school glue. I found a bunch of it on sale at Walmart for 25 cents for these big sticks last week. So check your clearance section now that the back to school rush is over and you're starting to see those things really, really marked down. So I just put the glue on the front of all of the wood tags, and then I just put them down with that glue face down on the back part of the scrapbook paper. You can see how I am doing that here. I do my best to line it up to the straight edge of the paper. Since it is a plaid that I'm working with and there are straight lines and straight angles, you want to make sure you get it as straight as possible so it's not totally crooked on your tag. And then I'm just going to cut each of these out, cutting very close to the edge of the wooden tag, but I am going to be sanding them so it doesn't need to be exact. Now these are just rectangle tags, and traditional tag shape like a package tag would be darling as well. So use what you have. Even a circular shape would work for this. Anything that you've got. You could even use some cardboard to do this with if you would like to. If you don't have wood, cut some squares or rectangles out of cardboard and you're good to go. Now I'm just using my emery board to gently file down the scrapbook edge there to give it a nice clean look. I then use my Elmer school glue to place down each of the squares on the tag. Now I don't want them completely centered from top to bottom. From side to side I do, and I'm measuring them compared to the other one that I made so I can get them as centered as possible in comparison to each other. I want to leave a little bit of a bigger space at the top because I'm going to go in with some greenery and I'm going to embellish it, so I want you to still be able to see that design. So you can see kind of how I place those here. I kind of use just a measure of like one square, like one row of squares and a half from the bottom up, and that left you about 2 and a little bit more of full rows at the top that you can cover up with embellishment. Now, the raw edge I didn't love with how it was looking, so I just took some paint and I painted around the edge of my first one. This was a painstaking process. I did not love this right here, and I thought there's got to be an easier way, and then it occurred to me I have a black ink pad. So if you want to paint around the edge because you don't have a black ink pad, go for it. Use like a sponge tool instead. But if you have a black ink pad, I picked this up. It was $1.99. I think and I've seen them at Dollar Tree too, but this one came from just my local craft store. And it's so easy to just place that around the edge, just kind of stamp your wood into the side of the wood, into the ink pad, rub it, whatever you need to do to fill in any gaps. And it takes seconds compared to it took me like 5 minutes to do the outer portion of the first tag. Now I'm just taking a wet wipe here and I'm going around the edge. This is going to bring some of that ink over onto the top. You can see those ones on the right hand side compared to the one I'm doing now, how it brings that black ink over the edge and gives it a really nice finish. I decided that the back needed something too, so you could do this before you did the edge of the paper. It was just something that I went, well, now I've done the edge, the back needs to look a little nice too, because sometimes you see through a Christmas tree and you can see the back of an ornament and you want it to look nice too. This fun tool is called a Cropodile, C-R-O-P, Cropodile, and it was the most game-changing tool to my crafting career. I am not even kidding. Christmas is coming. It might be a fun thing to ask Santa for. I'll have a link for it down in my description box, but it can cut holes through metal and wood, thinner pieces of it, but it still works really well. Now I'm taking my twine and I folded it in half and I'm sticking the folded part through from the front to the back, and then I pull those little pieces, the little tails through there to make a nice little loop. So I'll show you again what I do here. So I just get a longer piece of twine because I'm not exactly sure how long I want my tails so far. I fold it in half and you can see where that fold is there that I have. I'm just going to feed that from the front of my design to the back, and then it creates a loop, and I'm just going to pull those tails through. This is just going to make sure that when you hang your ornament, it's not going to go to the side. If you just put one piece through and tied it off, sometimes it doesn't hang correctly. I love this method because it really does give you that nice professional touch. And then I'm just going to loop the ends to tie them off there, and I just compare them to each other to make sure that the tassels are as long on each, like that it's equal length. And you can see here, I just do the exact same thing, and then I just kind of wrap it around my finger to tie a knot, and then I'm just cutting off the little tails for however long I want them to be. Now I thought it would be really fun to add some greenery to these, give them a little something extra. They're fine the way they are, so if you want to stop right there, go ahead and do that. But I'm just using a little bit of hot glue. These are just some little scraps that I have. Whenever I use picks and things or trim things down, I just have a little Ziploc baggie of little pieces, and I kind of keep them like in season. So all of my Christmas pieces are in a bag, all of my fall pieces are in a bag. So when I'm doing a little project like this, I'll just pull them out, because inevitably you might want like a berry here or there, or a little piece of greenery or a little sparkle. So that's where all of this is coming from. I do have some of this pipberry that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just feed that through. The way that we tied that little tassel on there, the twine, you can loosen it, and I just slipped that piece of pipberry underneath it. And then I'm just taking a pencil and I'll wrap it right around this to give it a nice corkscrew shape. You can even just have just a little piece. You don't have to corkscrew it, but I just thought that adds just a little bit more texture and whimsy and a little bit more visual interest to it. I then just make a finger bow, and I'll show you how I do that in just a moment, but this is just some red and green jute twine. You can see that package there. I picked this up at Walmart, and I love that you get the red and the green because it's something that you don't see all the time, and it's a very thin twine, perfect for little projects like this. And I just make that bow and I glue it on. So I'll show you here how, in just a second, how I actually made the finger bow in case you've never made one of those. But I'm loving how these turn out. I just think they're so cute. They would be a perfect project if you had a craft fair that you were trying to make some things for, if you had a lot of those little calendar squares, or you could even just go onto like the Graphics Fairy website. If you've never been to her website, it's amazing. She has a ton of free graphics to print out. Print out something if you don't have a lot of calendar pages. Use something that you have. Even some scrapbook papers might have some little pieces to cut out that you can use. So use your imagination, be resourceful, and you can make these for literally next to nothing. You just have to have, like I said, you can even make them out of cardboard. So just use your imagination. So you can see I'm just wrapping that twine around my finger about 4 times, and then I just pinch it in the middle. And it makes the most darling little loops on either side to make a cute little bow. And then I just want to tie it off in the middle. So I'm just grabbing another little piece of the red. You don't have to do the red and the green. Don't add too many strings because it's going to get too muddled up there for you. At least for me it does. I always seem to get things tangled up. So I just cut a piece of the red, and I'm wrapping that around 2 or 3 times just to kind of tie that off. And then you just tie it into a knot on the back, and that's going to secure your loop right in the middle, making it look like you have the most darling tied bow there. You guys, I know I say the word darling a lot, but it's just one of those words in my vocabulary I say a lot. So just know that that's just who I am. But anyway, this bow ends up really beautiful, and it's really cute. And you just kind of, depending on how many loops you did, you just fan it out. And I love that the red and the green together there really tie all of those colors in. They match really well with that black and white plaid paper. Now you can see how I did these two. I do the same thing, the exact same thing on that third one as well. I love that I did these in a collection. I feel like over your tree, if you have a few ornaments that match, I really feel that brings your look together rather than just having a one-off here and there, which is okay with some ornaments, but it really is fun to have a collection. I think these 3 look beautiful. Definitely getting those farmhouse feels and vibes from these, and you can see they really do look high-end. I think that they would be a beautiful addition to anyone's tree. You're going to have to let me know what you think of these. Do you like the idea of using the back of the calendar pages, or would you be someone who wants to go find your own graphics and make them a little more custom? Let me know down in the comments. I'm taking this cutting board sign from Dollar Tree. I love that they have these a lot more now because they're so fun to give makeovers to. So I'm just going to tear off the surface that is there. And this one was already peeling off pretty good, but you can see I just rip off anything that I can. And then I'm spraying some water on here. I just let that sit for a few seconds, and then I just use my putty knife to be able to scrape that off. It may take you a couple times of spraying this down and scraping in sections, but it does come off fairly easy and leave you with a very clean surface. And then I'm just going to paint the base color of whatever I want my cutting board to be. In this case, I'm putting a graphic on the cutting board, so I wanted a white background so it would really make that graphic pop. There are several different ways that you can add graphics to things. This particular method I love because I feel like most of us have a printer, and I just use a regular inkjet printer. This is just a piece of copy paper, just normal copy paper that you have, or printer paper, and just a gift wrap sheet of tissue paper. And all I did was just cut that tissue paper to be about an inch wider than my paper all the way around, so that way I can fold the tissue paper over my copy paper, and then you just want to tape it down. We're going to feed this through our printer, and so I need all of my edges, my raw edges of tissue paper, taped down so nothing gets caught up or hung up in the printer and rips. Now, just fair warning, if you've never tried this before and you go to try it and it totally is a disaster your first time, it happens to everyone. Give it a try. It's very easy, but you do just want to make sure the biggest trick is to tape down all the areas of the tissue paper, so that way when you feed this through, it's not going to snag at all. I feel like that's probably the biggest issue that I hear from people. But really, this is a simple process. You just want to make sure that when you feed this through your printer, it's printing on the side that the tissue paper is on. And I'm just showing you the edge is all taped there. I'll show you, you can even use painter's tape to do it with, and it works beautifully. Now, when I did try to place the graphic on my cutting board, I realized there was a little bit of negative space, and so I thought I would paint a ticking stripe at the bottom. So I just taped out a little bit of area, and with a stencil brush, just went over that with some red paint. It's what matched my graphic that I'm using, and I thought that added a little bit more visual interest onto the bottom to have those beautiful little stripes there. So here is the image after I have printed it out on the tissue paper. You can see how beautiful. I'll leave a link to this image. It's from one of my most favorite Etsy stores to get graphics from, so I'll leave a link to them down in my description box. But I just cut out all of the edges, being careful not to cut the graphic at all, and just remove it from the copy paper. Now, since I'm going to be using some Mod Podge and the decoupage process to put this on my cutting board, I don't want a harsh line along the edges. I want a natural edge. So in order to achieve that, I just take a paintbrush and some water and go along the edge around the design. You want to make sure that you leave a buffer between where the water is going to be and your design, because that water does seep in really good to that tissue paper, and then you just tear out your edges to give that natural edge. Now, I just covered the entire surface of my cutting board with some Mod Podge. I like to use the matte Mod Podge when I'm doing this process here, so you don't have like a big shine to it, but if you like the shine, then use the gloss Mod Podge. Now I'm using some saran wrap or cling wrap here to pounce the design from the middle out, and you can see that if I have any wrinkles or anything, I just lift up that tissue paper and I can straighten that out. Now if you go to lift your tissue paper and you find that you're going to have a problem or it's going to tear, you're just going to embrace it. You're just going to go with it, place it down and move forward. It's going to have a rustic look anyway, so it's going to be just fine. Now I'm also taking a little bit of Mod Podge and going underneath each of my edges and then on top of my edges to seal them all, to make sure that they're not going to come up. I just want to make sure that they have a really good bond with the cutting board, and that way you're not going to have the image start to come up at all. And then you can use some clear coat spray, or in this case, I'm just putting some Mod Podge over to protect that design and the tissue paper. I know a lot of you have a lot of different methods of decoupage that you do, so if you have a different technique that works great for you, definitely try that with this sign and see if it works for you. Now I'm just going to take some of this really thick twine from Walmart, is where I purchased this, down their crafting aisle, and I'm just going to wrap it around 5 or 6 times around the top of the cutting board, or the neck of the cutting board there. I thought this really added a nice like homespun touch to it. It makes it look really warm. It adds some visual interest, and I really love the color of the twine. Since I did kind of a gingerbread type print on it, the twine color kind of ties that in, I feel like, and it looks really good on there. So I just glued it onto the back there just very subtly, so that way I just trimmed it so it looks very smooth and clean on the back. But I just really think that that adds quite a really nice touch to it. What do you guys think? Do you guys like the twine on it? Now I just took some additional twine and I looped that through the top there. As you can see, I felt like this really just needed something that you could hang this with. And by tying it on in this particular way, if you were to hang it off of one of your cute little cutting board bars or something, you would be able to have it hang flat so the graphic would show. But how cute would this be hung with a bunch of traditional charcuterie or cutting boards and have that beautiful Christmas design on there? I go around the edge and I'm just sanding the edge. This is optional, but I do feel like when you paint the cutting board, you will want to do this because you want to clean up if any paint went over the edges or anything, to give it a nice professional look. So that is why I do this. So how crazy you get with your distressing on there is totally up to you. But overall, I think this turns out beautiful. I feel like it looks just like something you would find in Mrs. Claus's kitchen, maybe. I love how this looks, and I think it's going to be a great addition for Christmas decor in my kitchen. What do you guys think of this one? I really love using these faux pressed tin sheets from Dollar Tree, and I'm just taking some scraps that I have from other projects I've used that I've cut shapes out of, and so I just hang on to those because you never know when you're going to need to use them, and this was the perfect time for me to get into all of my scraps here. So I have this Christmas tree shape that I have from, these came from Dollar General, and you place them together and make some 3D trees. But I mean, you could print something out and cut it. If you could freehand, you could do that. I tried to freehand it and it was an absolute disaster. So I reached into my stash and grabbed these to trace out a Christmas tree shape. But I want to make some pressed tin looking ornaments. And you can see here that I just added a cute little stump to the end of the tree, so that'll kind of be a little detail there. So I mean, use your imagination, and there's so many possibilities that you could do with different shapes other than just Christmas trees. This is just what I'm doing in this video, but I mean, how cute would some cute little stockings be, or even just some traditional ornament shapes, some angels? They would all be beautiful. So I cut 4 out. They're all 4 different sizes. I have go from like largest down to smallest, and I'm just going to do a couple coats of some white paint for my base. I feel like white paint is a good base to use because anything you add, if you add color or anything else or age it on top of that, white is the best place to start. So I just give these, it takes about 3 coats each side to get the coverage that I want. At the beginning of this Christmas crafting season, I bought this patina kit. Mine came from Hobby Lobby, but I know there are a lot of other brands and a lot of craft stores will probably carry this exact thing here. I bought it when it was on sale, so I didn't really pay full price for it, but it's been really fun to kind of experiment with. So it comes with like the patina spray, you get a primer, and then you get a copper paint. And you have to do it in the steps that you want to follow your instructions for whatever kit you use, because it creates a reaction to have a natural patina. So for my kit, I start with the primer and I prime the front and back of all of my trees, let that dry completely, and you do 2 coats, and then I can add on the copper on top of that. And so now I'll go through and add the copper on the front and the back of each of these. And I think it said to do 2 coats of this also, which is what I do. So just read your instructions of what you do. But I mean, even just like this, I think this copper color is absolutely just a beautiful color. But there's something in the paint that's going to create a reaction when you spray it with the patina. And so that's kind of what I'm going for. I'm really going for a vintage look here. I wanted these to look like they were a pressed tin that had been painted over and then aged. Maybe paint had flaked off. So I'm going with a messy coat of white paint. This is going to help that raised portion of these little, it's faux tin, but for some reason in my head I keep wanting to call it actual tin. But you're just going to go over that raised portion of these tiles. Let's call them tiles. There we go. And it's just going to reveal that beautiful design, but I don't want full coverage of the white paint because I do want that copper color to show through. Now my intent was I was going to spray these and that copper was going to age, and it was going to age into a beautiful like patinaed bluish greenish color. So you can see that I'm just using a little bit of a heat tool to help that paint dry. I do recommend using a heat tool on these if you have them, because it helps the edges of this faux tin kind of curl a little bit. It kind of melts it and not kind of, I mean it does, but it helps it have a look like it's actual tin, not cut out of plastic. So here I'm spraying the patina spray, and I immediately notice that it's the paint that starts to have a reaction, not necessarily the copper. I don't know if it was because it was on plastic. I don't know if it was just the nature of the chalk paint, but I actually really liked how it came out. And you can kind of see some of these, it even yellowed in some areas, almost like rusty look. I just think in the back, I don't know if it's because they were laying on the back because I sprayed them too, and so I don't know if that just didn't, but I mean, they're going to be hanging on my tree, so you won't see that as much. But if you don't have the patina spray, maybe use some green paint too. That might give you the same effect. So you can use a hole punch, but I felt like that punch was way too big. I don't have any smaller hole punches than just the standard one. So I'm using my Crocodile, just the one of the settings on that, to cut a little hole in the top of each of these. And then I'm just going to take some twine and I loop it, and I'm just putting the loop from the front part of the tree to the back, and then I will pull that loop out, and you can see how I do that right here. And then I'm just going to put my fingers through and pull the excess, the tails through there. And that gives you a nice finished look on there instead of tying it off, just putting one end through and tying it, because then your tree doesn't hang facing outward, and you want your ornaments to show through your tree. So I particularly like this method to help your ornaments hang the correct way. Now I just cut those tails down after tying a knot in there, and I just kind of rough up that twine to give it more of an intentional look rather than it having just be like, I mean, if these have been aged, you kind of want them to look like they've been around for a minute or two. So now I am just tying all of them, and I will lay them on top of each other, and I will match up the hole size, and I'm just going to tie the ends of the twine so they match. So for instance, if you were going to sell these or give these away, you want your lengths to be the exact same and your knots to kind of fall in the exact same length. But look at how beautiful these look. Again, my tree is not up yet. It is October when I made these, so I just have this little bit of garland to show these to you on. But I mean, look at those colors. They are so beautiful. I feel like I want to go make like 10 more and have them all over my tree. I would love to know your thoughts on this process, if this is something you would try, if you liked how these turned out, because they exceeded my expectations so much with how they turned out, and I'm very, very pleased with them. For this project, I'm just starting out with some craft paper. You can pick this up at Dollar Tree. This time of year, you can find it in all of your gift wrapping. It's just regular brown packing paper, but you really can do it with any paper, and I end up doing it with a book page. So I'll show you exactly what I do. But I'm just cutting a strip, probably about 6 inches across. It just depends on how big you want your star to be. And really, these are like a star or a snowflake, you could call them. So I'm just gonna, for purposes, I'm gonna say that they're a star, but you're just gonna fold these in an accordion way. So I go down maybe like a 1/2 inch. What I end up doing is I end up getting a popsicle stick here. You can see like the craft stick, the thicker ones. That's what I use to make my folds uniform. And so I just fold that, and you can see I stick that in, make sure that I'm right to the edge of that craft stick. That way I'm getting nice straight folds, because if you're anything like me, I start folding it and then I'm like way off on one side and almost like I'm folding on a diagonal. So it was really nice to have this kind of as a guide. But you could use a ruler if you're good and you're like, oh my gosh, girl, I got this. I can just fold it without anything. Like, I know how to fold paper. Then you can definitely do that. But you're just going to go across or fold down maybe like 15 times or so. You just want, it just depends on how many different folds you would like in your star. So I'm just going to keep folding until I get to the end of this paper. Once you're to the end of the paper, I'm just going to take a piece of twine and I'm going to tie this off in the middle. Now you can fold it first or you can tie it off first. It's not going to matter right here, but I'm just going to show you here that I'm just taking a little bit of twine and I'm just going to tie this. This is just, I don't know that it has any purpose to it. I just tied it on there, but it really does just kind of add just a little visual interest into the center, and you can embellish these any way that you want to, but this is just helping so it doesn't like pop everywhere, because sometimes your paper might just open up and you're like, anyway. So I'm just showing you how I did this, and if you know an easier way or something, then go with that. Now I end up using some hot glue at this part, so you can see I'm folding it in half. But when I do my book page, I end up using the Elmer School Glue, which I like that a little bit better. To get the shape of your star, you just want to cut at an angle from one of the corners down. You can make it as dramatic as you want or as little as you want. But you're just going to want to glue your inside pieces together here. So you just folded that little teeny strip together. So the pieces you folded together, you just want to glue those. So you can see how I'm doing that. And I'm just going to press these together until that glue dries and it has a firm hold. And once that dries, you can start to open up your star here, and you can kind of fan it out. Now, as you can see, I had some of the hot glue pieces there that I was having to pick a little bit that seeped out. So that's why I kind of liked using the Elmer's glue. But you can see I'm just going to take those other ends once you fold that open here, or unfold it open, I guess it would be the correct way to say that. I'm just going to do the same thing and put a little bit of glue on this side and then glue it together so your star will be completely open and it will reveal the most beautiful folds in there. And I just think it makes the most darling little shape. I just take a hole punch and I'm just hole punching kind of where a couple of those folds are, and I'm just feeding through some twine on there and tying that off so I have something to hang this with. Now, as I was doing this, I thought it would be really fun to add something a little extra, so I just take a Dollar Tree wooden bead. You could do a couple, like a couple different sizes. I just feel that this adds a little something extra, so it's not just the twine and the paper. It makes it look a little bit more high end and maybe not so like school project-y. It just kind of looks fun. And I just think it adds a little something extra, which I felt like it needed. I followed the exact same process with a page out of an old book that I've been using for some projects. I did use my, not this kind of Elmer's glue to adhere it, but just the purple glue stick to get the edges to stick together. But I thought it would be really fun to put some of this type of school glue on here. And I am just running my finger along the edges of all of those folds. And I want to put some glitter and some sparkle on here. I really love the way that the sparkle and the book page looks. Now, if you wanted to age your book pages, soak them in some coffee or tea, or even use a little bit of antiquing wax or something, that would look very pretty and vintage also. But you can see I'm just sprinkling this glitter everywhere and making sure that I hit all of those high spaces that I put that glue on, and then I let that completely dry. Now, once I did this once and I lifted up the star and saw how beautiful it was, I decided that I wanted to put a little bit more on the edges. I am so pleased with how these came out. I think they look beautiful. And my favorite, I think, is the book page with a little bit of sparkle. I do love the brown one. It definitely has a simplicity to it. Would you do anything to embellish that further? If so, I would love to know what you would do to it. But I just think that a whole bunch of these all over a tree would make such a statement. And they're fun and they're easy to make, and they were very quick. You could have your kids or grandkids help you. I just think they turned out so beautiful. I found these truck signs at Dollar Tree, and honestly, they were so cute, I had no idea what to do with them. And I also had this little Candy Cane Lane sign. Now, for the Candy Cane Lane sign, any of the Dollar Tree signs that are like this would work. It just happens to be, if you looked at this upside down, it would still be Christmassy. So I thought it would be really cute to kind of make a little planter out of these. So all I'm going to do, now one of the trucks was on clearance, which I didn't know Dollar Tree had a clearance, but if things get broken or things like that, they do kind of mark them down. So the truck that's in the back, it kind of is damaged a little bit, and so I thought it would be perfect to put it kind of behind this other truck. And so I'm just gluing the Candy Cane Lane sign in between, and that is going to become kind of like the planter portion of this little planter box that we're making. And then this one was also on clearance, but honestly there was nothing wrong with this one. Anyhow, I'm just going to measure these up because they're not completely flat on the front. I had to make sure that I glued like on the hubcaps to get that Candy Cane Lane sign on there, and then I'm just matching them up and setting it down so that way the tires will be even, so when it sits, it will sit completely flat. And after I get these glued together, the fun part comes. We get to get all of our picks and florals and embellish it really cute. For the florals that I'm using, they all come from Dollar Tree. They're just these little evergreen picks that they have, and I'm just folding them in half and then just kind of sticking them wherever. I'm not even sure that I use a full package. Anyhow, I take some of the berry picks from Dollar Tree and just pull off the different sprigs of berries, and I just kind of alternate between different florals that I have. You could customize this to look however you want. I also have these cute little icicle branches that came from Dollar Tree that I absolutely love using in all of my stuff, and so I just kind of sporadically put all of these in until I think it looks good. And here's our little red truck planter put together. I think this looks so cute. It is definitely a great addition to my Christmas decor and so easy to do. What do you think of this one? I have this piece of wood that I cut out to look like a little house. Now, I know that they sell these at Hobby Lobby. They sell them at Dollar Tree, so you don't have to cut your own out if you don't want to. Sometimes if you buy a big piece of wood, this is actually molding that I bought at Home Depot. Sometimes it's more cost effective to make your own, and these are so fun to do for different tiered trays or different DIYs. So if you do have the means to be able to cut it out yourself, I recommend just getting a big piece of wood and doing your own, because then you'll have several. So I'm just using some Elmer school glue, and I am just gluing this scrapbook paper on here. I thought this plaid was really, really cute and very Christmassy, and I just used my sander. This is just an emery board that I use to kind of do in a slow downward motion to make sure that all of the edges are crisp and clean. Now, for my theme of my tiered tray, I kind of was going for like a North Pole vibe. Like if you were just to maybe get like a little glimpse of the North Pole, like what would you see? And so I kind of went for more of like a realistic thing. So this is kind of representative of maybe Santa's house or his workshop, just something cute that he may have. I don't know, just kind of something in my head that I like to kind of make up little stories when I'm doing my tiered trays. So I wrap this twine around several times and then I just hot glue it onto the back. You could even tie it in a knot on the back, but if you hot glue it in different positions, it kind of makes sure that that's going to stay in the different wrapped motions that you've made. And then I'm just taking a little snowflake ornament. I think this was in a set that I maybe picked up at Hobby Lobby, possibly Dollar Tree. I'm not 100% sure, but I have seen things like this both places. So I'm just going to stain this with a little bit of antiquing wax. If you can't find the antiquing wax or you don't have any, just some watered down brown paint will give you the same effect. And then I just tie a little bit of twine onto the end because I'm going to dangle this snowflake from the twine around the house. So I just cut that off of the back where I tied that in a knot on the snowflake. And then I'm just going to measure how short I want this or how long I want it to be. And I literally just stick the twine up underneath all of the twine I wrapped around the house. And then I'm just going to tie this on. When I cut this off, I'm going to dab a little bit of Mod Podge onto each of the knots that I made. This will dry clear. It will just secure it so that way it's not going to come untied. And then I just make a finger bow by wrapping some twine several times around my finger to make a loop, several loops, and then I just tie it off in the middle with another piece of twine. And then using hot glue, I'll just glue this over that little spot where the snowflake is hanging from. And I think this turned out super cute. I think Santa would like to live in this house. What do you guys think? I'm really pleased with it. I think that plaid is so Christmassy. And honestly, this is something that could stay up all winter if you wanted to incorporate it into your January decor as well. I'm so excited to show you this DIY. It's almost like 4 DIYs in one, but I love how this turns out. So this cute little sign I found just recently, like this last week at Dollar Tree. It's a cute little laundry sign, and I loved that it had the little pegs on it. And I knew immediately what I wanted to do with it when I saw it. So I just sprayed some water on it, and I'm just using my putty knife to scrape off that glue. It may take you a few minutes to get all of that scraped off, but it worked better to scrape it than to sand it, in my opinion. Once that dries, I just take a little bit of white chalk paint on a chip brush and I'm just dry brushing this on. I just really wanted a nice faded look to it. So you can paint it a different color if you want or whatever you want to do with it, but that's the style that I was going for. Now I'm taking a sleigh from Dollar Tree. I'm actually going to do 3 different sleighs here in this DIY. This first one, I'm going to paint the base of the sleigh here, the part that you would write on, white, and then I'm going to paint the bottom part of the sleigh here just in black, just doing a traditional farmhouse palette. And each of the sleighs that I'm doing are each a different type of sleigh also. So if you can find a variation, do that, or whatever works or whatever you've got on hand. Now I'm taking some foam core board and I want a wreath to go on one of my sleighs, and so I didn't have a wreath small enough because these sleighs are kind of teeny, so I just thought I would make my own. The greenery here is just off of the boxwood picks that you pick up at Walmart. I love those boxwood picks. You can use them all year, and I feel like you can get so many projects out of them. So definitely when you're at Walmart, look at their florals and pick a couple of those up. You will not regret it. So now I just cut off the littlest, teeniest size of the leaves that I could, and I just glue them all the way around and fill in all the gaps and everything so you cannot see that. And you could use cardboard if you don't have foam core board, something like that. And now I'm just taking some little teeny tiny red berries. This is also off of a pick that I got at Walmart, and I just glued those all the way around just kind of to bring in a little pop of color into that. So now moving on to our second sleigh, I am going to stain with just my Waverly antiquing wax the portion of the sleigh that you would sit on here, like the base of that, and then on the bottom, and the name escapes me of what these would be called, like the blades of the sleigh maybe. I'm painting those black, and then I will stipple on some metallic here, silver, because I wanted this to look like maybe it was aged metal was kind of what I was going for, and so I just went all the way around to do that. This cute little deer ornament came from Dollar Tree. It came like 2 to a pack, so I just took this and put a decent amount of hot glue and just held that down till it was completely dry. I wanted this sleigh to look like it had a little bit of snow on it, so I'm just putting some white chalk paint on a chip brush and I'm just dabbing that up and down. And after I did this, and I'm just doing it kind of as if the sleigh was propped up against something where the snow would naturally fall, and I decided that the white paint wasn't cutting it, so I take a little Mod Podge, I do the same thing over the paint, and then I'm just going to take some glitter, and this would be completely optional. I know some people do not like glitter, but I just thought that it added a little something to this sleigh, and I just sprinkled that glitter over the top of this where that Mod Podge is, and I Just shake that off, and I just think that adds the perfect touch of snow on there. And then you just kind of, when you can see I pull it upside down and I just tap it all off to get that off of there. And I just thought it looked so cute. So now I'm taking the third sleigh here, and I wanted to do this in a traditional like brown and red metal type of sleigh look here. So the base of the sleigh on these, I'm just taking some red paint, and I will get that on the sides here all over the bottom there. And then I'll also do that on like the crossbar, and you'll see how I do that here in just a second. You can see over there. And I just thought that would be really cute. In my mind, that's where the red part of the sleigh would be. And then I just use antiquing wax to do the rest of it. And so that's how that goes. And for some reason in my mind, that little piece, it was like a piece of wood that would be going up that metal would fasten to. So that's why I chose to do that. So anyway, I just went ahead around with my little emery board and distressed it so it looked like an aged sleigh. And then I even had like a little bit of black paint on a baby wipe there that I went over where I sanded to kind of give it more of an aged and an older look. I picked up this little Christmas tree. This came from like the little village section that Dollar Tree always has. And I just thought it would be really cute to have this tied onto this sleigh, like somebody's bringing their Christmas tree home for Christmas to decorate it. And I'm just kind of pushing the bristles. It's like a bottle brush. So I'm pushing those bristles out so that way it will lay a little bit flatter against my sleigh. And then I'm just using hot glue. I did take off the snow base of that because it didn't look very realistic, if you will, on there. So I just wrapped the base in some twine to kind of look like the trunk of the tree. And then I glued that on, and I decided to glue it on upside down, like that was how they had placed it, like it had just kind of fallen over on the sleigh. And I tied it down with some twine to look like the tree was tied down with rope, and just put a little teeny bow on the top of that. So now you can see I have this little wreath I'm going to put onto this sleigh, and I had this little ornament that came from Walmart. Dollar Tree has some cute little ornaments too that would be darling on there, or you wouldn't have to do one at all. I just really like the fact that it had a cute little thing on there to say sleigh ride, since I'm kind of going with the sleigh theme on here. And here's all three of these sleighs together. I just think they all turned out so cute. They were so fun to create. So now I'm going back to the base of the sign because we're going to let everybody know that they can park their sleighs here. So I'm just taping some tissue paper to just a regular piece of copy paper. And you just want to make sure that this it's like the dull side is what's up. So there's a shiny side and a dull side to tissue paper. I put the shiny side towards the paper because I want the ink to go onto the dull side of the paper. Now I just fed this through my printer like a piece of paper. I just found some script and wrote this in Word, put it through. I have an inkjet printer, not a laser printer. I just make sure that that ink is very, very dry before I put any Mod Podge. And you can see how the ink kind of bleeds through onto the paper. Now I'm taking a little brush with some water on it, and I'm just going around the the sleigh parking, and just ripping that. This will give it a natural edge rather than a cut edge, and that way when you Mod Podge this down, it will kind of disappear into the background. So I just do a thin layer of Mod Podge, and I'm having a very hard time holding onto the sign, but I want to do this all over. So when you do this, make sure the Mod Podge goes all over, not just where your words go, because you want the sheen and the finish to look cohesive. And then I just did my best to eyeball how I wanted that centered, and then I work from the middle out with just dabbing my finger and making sure there are no wrinkles or anything, and I just kind of go up to the edge, and then you can kind of say I pull it taut there, and then keep doing that. And if your tissue paper will allow you to kind of pick it up, if you get a wrinkle or two, do it, but if you feel that it's going to start to tear, just embrace the wrinkles and just let it be a part of the sign. So I take a little bit of Mod Podge and I go over the edge, not over the ink. I'm just going over the edge. Now, if this had dried for several days, I could probably go over the ink and be fine, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to seal this instead. I have this clear glaze Krylon, and I'm just going to spray this over the top. And I just make sure this goes all over to give the same sheen, and just a little spritz on there, and then I let that dry completely. Then after that's dry, I just take a little bit of white paint, and on my little brush, just very lightly dry brush over the letters to make it blend into the background of that sign. I just think that is super cute. I'll link the font name if I can down in my description box. And then I stained those cute little pegs, and I just screwed those back on and hung these little sleighs from it. And you guys, I think this turned out this might be one of my favorite Christmas crafts ever. It's so cute. It was so fun. You can personalize it. You could have all of like your kids or your grandkids decorate a cute little sleigh to hang from it. So next time you're at Dollar Tree, pick up one of those laundry signs and look for some cute little sleighs, or even if you had different ornaments you wanted to decorate and hang from it. It would be so cute. So last month I was on a little trip with my daughter and we decided to visit their Dollar Tree, and I found this cute little sign blank. I've never seen these at my Dollar Tree, so hopefully they're going to be coming into all Dollar Trees, or you'll be able to find some. If not, just use whatever sign blank that you have, or even just a piece of wood with some scrapbook paper on it would be really cute. Now I have these little Believe wood cutouts that I got at Dollar Tree, and they come in a pack of 2. I'm just going to use 1, and I just paint it red because I thought that would look really cute. You could leave it even just unpainted and that would be cute as well. Now I'm taking some white paint and dry brushing over it because I wanted it to have kind of a little frosty look. So it's just up to you on if that's your style or not. And then I'm just going to center this as best as I can. The little faux shiplap was not exactly straight on this picture, so I just kind of did my best to make it all look like it lined up pretty good. The type of glue I'm using is just kind of like a type of super glue. It's the DAP brand that comes from Lowe's, and I do really like this. I don't love using hot glue for projects with letters like this because I feel like the glue dries before you get it on there and it doesn't get quite as snug of fit as I like. So that's just a little tip there if you want to use that. Like Aleene's tacky glue would work just fine as well. Now I have these little glass ornaments that have just kind of been sitting in my stash for a couple of years, and I haven't really known what to do with them, but I thought that they looked really cute hanging on the side of this sign. Had I had jingle bells, I probably would have done that because I think jingle bells would be so cute with the word believe there and the little sleigh bells, but I didn't have any, so this was the closest thing. So if you have jingle bells, you could definitely use those, or nothing at all would be fine too, just leaving it plain and simple. And I just wrapped that bow around my hand a couple of times, the twine, to make that cute little bow. I think this turns out so cute. I think that this would make a perfect little gift for somebody. It took me less than 10 minutes to make this, so it's a fairly quick project if you have all of the items, or if you see things like this at Dollar Tree, just snag them up because it makes such a cute little sign. I love picking up signs like this at the craft stores. These particular ones came from Dollar Tree. It doesn't ever matter what they say because I'm always going to make them over. So I just peeled the paper back and it leaves a little bit of this backing that's been glued onto this. And these are not the wood signs from Dollar Tree. These are more like of a composite material. So I just spray them with water and let them soak for a few moments. And then you'll see that this just peels right off. And even though like the top layer kind of peels off, as you can see here, if you spray it again and let it sit for just maybe another minute, you'll be able to take your scraper, and as you see, it will just scrape right off of there. It's kind of actually pretty satisfying getting all of that off of there. It is a little bit sticky with the glue, so you do just want to wash your hands after so you don't get glue on everything. The shortest of these signs was about 10 inches, and I'm going to leave that as is. I won't be cutting that one. It will be the bottom of my stack here. The next one I will cut down to 8 inches, and then I cut one down to 6 inches. And then that left a little piece off of the one that I end up putting on the top that is 4 inches. So I just go down 2 inches on each. So there's, if that makes sense, hopefully you can see that there's an inch on each side. Now my top 2 tiers of this little snowman stack that I am making, I will paint black. This is going to be the hat portion of my snowman, and I'm just using some chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree. One coat did very good coverage on these, so I didn't have to do that. I'm just using some white chalk paint here on the bottom 2 stacks. It did take about 3 coats to get the coverage that I wanted. Now I just need to glue my little snowman face together here, so I'm just using a combination of E6000. Super glue would work too. You could probably even just do hot glue since this won't be getting probably a lot of use other than just sitting on a shelf. I just thought I would make it a little bit more of a permanent hold if it fell over or anything. I don't know. I just thought the E6000 added a little bit of an extra bond on there. So that's up to you. I know a lot of people comment that they cannot stand the smell of E6000, which it definitely has an odor, but it doesn't bother me too much. Anyhow, I'm just gluing this all together here, each stack, just making sure that I get it so it's all even. And then I have these little wooden discs. I got this in a package. I bought like a big box of craft material at a yard sale. However, be creative. If you find something like bingo chips or something like that at the Dollar Tree, use something like that. You could even just use wooden half beads or something if you happen to have those. Be creative. Anything will work. Now I'm just taking a paint stir stick and I am just using my scissors to cut out a carrot nose, just kind of a triangle shape. And as you saw, my scissors cut through there pretty decently. And so I was able to get that shape, very rustic look, which is what I was going for. I'm going to paint my carrot orange, and then I am going to paint some little teeny ridges on my carrot there to kind of give it a little bit of dimension. Now, after I dry those, I go back over with the orange paint to kind of make them look a little bit faded, so that way they weren't so stark and obvious. Now I just go back in and I'm just using some hot glue to glue on the eyes and the mouth. I like to lay it out before I glue it so I have an idea of where I'm going and make sure everything is spaced right and looks good. And then again, this part I just do with hot glue and it goes rather quickly. So now I just position the nose. I put a little bit of glue along the nose on the back. I did not want that nose to hang over the edge, so I put it right up to the edge there, but I didn't want it to like get broken off. But that's just up to you. If you want to have it hanging over the edge, that would be really cute as well. So now we're just going to tuck some little foliage into this snowman's cute little hat here. And I'm just using a combination of like little spare parts, if you will, that I have from different picks. So I have like some lamb's ear. There's a little bit of the boxwood. Those both came from Walmart. These berry picks came from Dollar Tree. And then I have this little evergreen that I think it came on a plant that my mom gave me. I don't know. It came from somewhere, but I just got a bunch of little things. When you're doing a little hat like this that you want some variety, you don't have to have like one whole pick. Just use your spare parts, what you've got, and that works great. And I decided to have some glued kind of up towards the top of his hat and some kind of coming down. So when I put that ribbon band on, it looks like some's peeking out below. And I just used some hot glue to put that on the back. This ribbon just came from Dollar Tree. I love this cute little gingham ribbon. And as you see, I'm just going to flatten that down on the back there. Now I'm going to do a cute little bow here. I just tied a couple loops on a little bow there and put a zip tie in the middle to put on his hat. And I thought that bow looked really cute. Now, of course, if a bow is not your style, do not put a bow on there. I had someone comment in my last video that asked if I had to put a bow on everything. Yes, I do have to put a bow on everything because that's what I like. It might be impossible for me to not put one on there. If it's not your style and you're making this, please make it to how you like it. Now, I'm just taking a little bit of the leftover black paint in my brush and just kind of dry brushing the edges. I wanted to give this a little bit of dimension, and I really liked the way that it looked on the nose to kind of help that pop. Now you can go as light or as heavy as you like on this. I don't really consider this like distressing. I feel like this is just more giving it a little bit of dimension. It looked kind of flat with just the white paint there. And then here I take the white that's left over in my brush, and I'm going to go over all of the black parts here. So just over the edges of his hat. Kind of looked a little bit like it was frosted there. And then I really like the look going over the little round discs here. It really did make those pop against that black against the white there, the edges. It just kind of gave it just a really good dimension, and I really loved it. I think this turns out absolutely darling. What do you guys think of him? Would you put him on one of your shelves for this Christmas season? I just love him, and I really feel like snowmen are just the essence of winter and Christmas, and it is something that you can make as Christmassy as you want, but they can also stay up all winter long. This DIY was inspired by an ornament that I saw at one of the local craft stores. It was this cute little snowman, and I thought it would be perfect to use these Dollar Tree cubes on. So I just take 3 of those, and then using some wood glue and some hot glue, I just clamp them together just to kind of get that really good hold on these. And I kind of make them a little bit askew. That's how the ornament I saw was, and I thought that was really super cute to kind of give definition. I had these little pieces of scrap wood that I'm just going to cut down to make a little hat out of, but you could easily do this out of anything else that you have, or even another sign or some of the wood pieces you get from Dollar Tree. It was just a couple little pieces that I had. And then I had a little bag of these stars that I recently got. I bought a big bag of a bunch of wood pieces at a garage sale, or a yard sale, and so I'm just using the heck out of all of that stuff. So I'll just color the hat, or paint, not color. We're gonna paint the hat black, and then as you saw earlier, I did paint my snowman in whatever color of white that you have or you want to use. And then I am painting these little stars white as well. And then I'm just taking another one of these stars and I just kind of cut one of the little points off of them to paint orange for my little carrot nose. But whatever you'd like to use to do that would work fine. I also sanded the edges to kind of give it a very distressed look, and then I'm going to go around with some antiquing wax on all of the edges, and then I'll just kind of brush that on and then lightly wipe it off with the baby wipe just to give a little bit of a stained look and just a little bit more definition. I do the same thing with the hat, just go around the edge with a little bit of antiquing wax on my brush and then just wipe it off. Just again, it just kind of makes the wood look a little bit, I mean, honestly, it looks like toasted marshmallow to me with the snowman with the white and a little bit of stain on there. But anyhow, so I will take the little stars. I'm going to use those as buttons for my little snowman, and I'm just going to kind of sand the edges down. And then just using a little bit of hot glue, I just stick one right there on his little tummy, and then I go ahead and put the other one on the next little block there for his little tummy there. So cute. It's kind of starting to come together. What do you guys think? I don't know. I was really skeptical about how this would look, but I absolutely love it. So I just decide which side I want the hat to go on, and so I will just glue this on top of his head, again just using hot glue, and then I will glue the top portion of his top hat on there. And then just kind of center it as best you can. I don't really measure a lot with it when it comes to centering things. I kind of really like that skewed look. And then his little nose, just a little bit of hot glue. And honestly, you could stop right here and just leave this guy like this. He looks absolutely darling without a face painted on, but I thought I would try and paint a face. And you guys hear me talk about all the time that I never freehand anything, and you may see why here in just a minute. You'll have to let me know how I did. But I put some little eyes on there, just dipping the end of my paintbrush into my paint. And then I do kind of make them a little bit bigger because I want him to have a bit more fuller eyes. And so I kind of I'll go back in and put a little bit more. You can use a dotting tool to do this too, but the end of your paintbrush works just fine. So there's his eyes. So far we're good, but here's the smile. So I do the first little part of my smile, and honestly, it would have been cute if I had just left it like that, but I thought, oh, I'll make it a full curve smile. And again, guys, I am not a painter. I don't freehand a lot. Well, I don't detail paint, but his smile ends up looking okay, I feel like, but it is definitely just kind of a little bit ski-wampus. But it's definitely cute and definitely homemade, and I absolutely love it. So I just put a little bit of those little dimple type defining features on the end of his smile there, and I think the face turns out pretty okay. You'll have to let me know what you think. But I take a little bit of Dollar Tree ribbon and I cut it down because I didn't have any of the exact size to fit onto his thing, and I wanted to add a little bit of evergreen into his little hat there. So I just glue each of the ends of the ribbon down here. This is pretty self-explanatory, just using some hot glue and wrapping that around, and you just cut it to size. You could even make like a little scarf for him if you wanted to, if you'd rather not decorate the top hat, or you could do both. And then I will just glue on my little evergreen there and just add some little berries to it. I think this turns out super, super cute. I just take a gold acrylic paint marker and just touch up where the styrofoam shows through. That's just a hack for you guys. If you ever have the styrofoam peeking through on your berries, just take the same color marker and touch it up. But what do you guys think of him? I think he turned out so cute. I am absolutely in love with him. And he was so easy to do. I got this darling little house at Dollar Tree. It was part of their nautical line they had in the spring and summer this year. I think it's absolutely darling the way that it is, but I do love kind of giving things a makeover, as you know, and so I'm going to make this a little bit more Christmassy. Now, that roof came right off with just a little bit of love and just a putty knife underneath it. It came off so I could put it right back on. I'm just using some white buffalo check, white and black, because that matches my Christmas decor. The fun part about this project is you can do whatever type of craft paper you want, whatever design. You can even make this for any time of year. It does not have to be Christmas. Now, I love using the Elmer School glue stick. There you saw the purple glue. That if you've been here for a minute, you know that is my most favorite method of getting paper onto things. And then you just use an emery board to file off the edges so it gives it a really crisp, clean look. So I just used some hot glue to glue the little roof back on there. And then I thought to add a little Christmas touch because it was a little bit bare from what I'm wanting to do with it. I had this little like holly sprig here. You can see the package there. It came from Hobby Lobby. I just thought it would be cute to glue a little bit like mistletoe at the top of the house there. Now this little wood cutout comes from Dollar Tree. So I just painted it white and then I printed a little design on tissue paper. Now I love printing on tissue paper. I'll link in my description box the video where I give you like step-by-step instructions on how to do that so you can kind of see. But you could cut a design out on a cutting machine. You could use water slide decal paper if you're good at hand lettering. Whatever method you want to use to get a design on there, or leave it plain, tie a cute bow on it. Anything's going to work for what you want to do. For the tissue paper method, you just use some decoupage after you've printed your design on tissue paper, and you just gently press it down, working from the middle out, and then you'll go back over each of the edges with some Mod Podge. I use my brayer here. You want to be so careful when you do this because you could rip that design still because it is very delicate. And then you just go over it with some Mod Podge to seal it in, and it is so easy. Again, I'll link that video down in my description box if you're curious on the whole process on how to do that. So I like to do a little bit of three-dimensional look sometimes when I'm gluing pieces together. So I'm just gluing a couple of tumbling tower blocks on the edge of this heart, or on the back of the heart, excuse me. So that way it pops out a little bit from the house. Now, once I got done with this, I kind of wish that I had moved that heart a little bit up. So I know it's maybe not the best placement, but it was glued down pretty good. I didn't want to have to tear it apart to do it. So if you're not a fan of where it's glued on there, I know. But it looks okay. I mean, in the end, it's okay. But since I did a three-dimensional look to it, I just take some of these little greenery picks that I have here and some berries, and I just tuck those in behind the heart on the side to kind of cover up a little bit of that negative space there where that plaid is, kind of bring a little bit more of a Christmas feel into it. It kind of softens it a little bit, I think. So I just thought this was cute. I love that little saying, all hearts come home for Christmas. I thought that was super cute. And again, sticking with the red truck theme, I love that. Now, some of my berries had a little bit of the red part scraped off. So just a little touch of red paint will be enough to kind of cover that up. And I like to add a little bit of dimension. So I just took some antiquing wax and went around the edge of that heart to kind of give it a little bit more of a dimension rather than just the stark white. But all in all, I think this turns out really cute. I love the saying on it. It will be darling for a Christmas tiered tray. What do you guys think of this one? Are you guys on Instagram? If you are, I would love if you would come and find me. I am Farm Charm Chic over there. I'll leave a link down in my description box so you can easily find me. But come and see what I'm working on. I post there quite a bit. I like to show you things that I'm working on or when I have videos ready. It's just another place to stay in touch. So if you do come find me, remember to send me a DM and say hi because I do love meeting new friends. I found these cute little jars at Dollar Tree, and I feel like they always have some type of little jar like this. They may differ a little bit, but these had this cute little space where you could put some, like a little tag or something. So in order to get paint to stick to glass, I'm just going to put a little bit of Mod Podge down in that area and let that dry. And that way when I'm going to put a little bit of chalkboard paint on these. That way it will adhere to the glass and it won't just immediately scratch off. So I'm just going to do that on all three of these in that little area. Now I just take some chalkboard paint. I'm just using chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree, and I am just going to carefully brush that into this little area. You'll have to do at least 2 coats on here, possibly 3, just depends on how thin you're doing your coats. The thinner the better, I have learned with this, but I just take my time. I have a little bit of an angled brush that I can go in and get that curve as best I can. And the nice thing is where you have not put your Mod Podge, you would be able to go in with kind of like your finger or fingernail and kind of scratch off. So if you do go out of the lines, it's not a huge worry. But on all 3 of these, I just put this little bit of chalkboard paint down. Now you easily could write with chalk, like a chalk marker or something to customize it that way. Of course, we know that I don't freehand anything, so I do just make a couple decals with my Cricut. I have one that says reindeer treats, one that says Santa snacks, and another that says Grinch goodies, and I thought those were just super cute. And then I am just taking 2 different kinds of twine here. This is baker's twine in red and green, and just tying around the top. And look at how simple and easy and how cute those are. I would love to know what kind of treats you would put inside of each of your little jars if you were to make these. This DIY would be so easy to recreate with any type of sign blank that you get either at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Dollar Tree, anywhere like that, an old sign that you might have, and you can use basically anything else that you have. I'm using a Christmas ornament in this one, but if there was some other little type of trinket or something, it would be super easy to use with that. But basically, I'm just going to scrape all of the glitter off because we know that Dollar Tree is famous for their glitter that they put all over everything. And then I'm going to give this a really good coat of white chalk paint, and I'm going to go over it. I think it takes about 2 or 3 coats to get this completely covered to make sure that you don't see any of the background. I am going to use a piece of painter's tape as a spacer between to make some stripes on this. So I basically will lay a piece of painter's tape down, another one right underneath that for the spacer, and then my next line, and then I pull up the spacer to leave the negative space that I'm going to go in and paint. So since we are doing Christmas themed, I am going to do some red paint for my stripes. You want to make sure that when you are using any type of stencil or tape like this, that you do clear off your sponge brush. I prefer to use a sponge brush. It's not really a brush at all, so I don't know why I'm calling it that. But my little painting sponge. But you can definitely use a stencil brush that is specifically for stenciling, but you want to just make sure that you seal the edges of the tape or your stencil with dabbing it lightly on those and making sure that there is a little amount of paint. It's better to do less paint and do more coats than go in with a big glob of paint, if that makes sense. So as you can tell, as I'm tearing off the tape here, I love this satisfying feeling of pulling this off and seeing nice, crisp, clean lines. I do want to make this look a little bit weathered and worn, so of course I'm going to distress it because that's what farmhouse is to me. So do whatever you'd like as far as your distressing technique, or none at all would also be fine with this. I mean, it's Christmas, it doesn't have to be distressed, but for it to match with my decor and everything, I am going to distress this. I do sand and pay attention to the corners, and I also go in with a brush and some antiquing wax and go around the edges to give this that farmhouse worn look on the edges. I do have this ornament from Dollar Tree that I am going to go and glue on here. Like I said, any other type of ornament that you have or any other type of trinket that you would like to use to glue on this would totally work. So I am just putting glue along the back of this, hot glue, and then I am just going to firmly place and hold this until it dries, not until it dries completely, but just until it has a firm stick, if that makes sense to you. And then of course, since it's Christmas, I think that I'm going to make this into Rudolph, since I do love the movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the song. So I am going to put a little bit of hot glue on a little berry, and I am going to stick that on his nose there to make it look like a Rudolph. And look at how cute he is. I think this turned out so cute. It is so fun. I think this is just that cute little thing either to put like on a tiered tray in your china hutch and a little shelf that you've got, just something to tuck away into a nice little corner that you need to bring a little bit of fun Christmas spirit to. I'm just taking this cute little chalkboard sign from Dollar Tree. It's got that darling little buffalo check fabric on the back, and then the front portion is just a chalkboard. And then I also have this little truck ornament that came from Dollar Tree. They've had these the last couple of years, so hopefully you can find some. But I just used some wire cutters to cut off the portion that says Merry Christmas. I'll probably just save that for another DIY. I just want the truck for this. Now I'm just taking my putty knife and I am gently going underneath this chalkboard portion here. I'm doing this very slowly. It is sped up a little bit because I just want to make sure that it doesn't break or rip or anything like that. I will be placing it back on, so the fact that you can see that little glue strip on there does not make a difference at all. Now I take 2 of these evergreen picks from Dollar Tree. They come in like a pack of 12. I've seen them at Dollar General. I believe I've seen them at Walmart. So hopefully you can find some at one of these stores or have some in your stash, or you can even just like dismantle like a garland or something like that to have some. So I just wrap 2 together and make an oval shape, and I just keep matching it up to the size of my chalkboard so you can see enough of it around the edges. And then I did take my scissors and kind of give it a little trim around the edges so that way it wasn't, I don't know, I think it just makes it look a little bit better if you trim a little bit of it off so it doesn't look so shaggy. So I did that. Now I have, these are from Walmart, and I think it's called like a winter cedar berry or juniper berry or something like that. I found it in their floral section, but it has these little teeny tiny red berries on it, and I think they're so cute. And I just kind of picked a little bit of the ends off of each of one of them, and then I'm just gluing it around kind of in an oval motion so that way they all kind of face the same direction. I thought that looked really cute with that evergreen pick. It kind of helps lift it up off of there. And then I'm just putting some hot glue around the ring on the back of this, and you'll see here I just carefully place that on. Now you can kind of see, if you can, I don't know, but I glue it on upside down when I go to put my chalkboard on because the holes that hang my sign up are facing the bottom right now where they really need to be facing the top. Anyhow, you'll see me fix that in a minute here. But I just go around anywhere that my little cedar berries are sticking up or I want them to stick down more, then I just use my hot glue to help hold those down. Now I take 4 tumbling tower blocks and glue 2 together and then the 2 on top of each other if that looks okay there, and then I glue that down on top. This is going to help give that 3-dimensional look. It helps pop out that chalkboard sign. So now I just match up where I want that truck, and I just use some hot glue around the edges there, and then I just eyeball it. Well, you can see I'm going to drop it first and then I eyeball it and get it all where I want. Now you can use any one of these for a hanger. You can see this came from Hobby Lobby, but maybe it came from Walmart. I'm not really sure. I'll have to look down in my description box and I'll let you know because I can't recall right now where I picked this up from. But I do love the green and the red on there. It did come from Walmart. It's just coming to me now that I remember actually picking it up there. So Walmart is where I got this. Now, you can find the pitberry at the Dollar Tree too and use that totally fine. Just putting back the twine hanger on here will be fine also. Now you can see that I realize now like, oh, whoops, I put this on backwards. So I just stick my putty knife up underneath that tumbling tower block and where the glue was. The glue had dried pretty good at this point, but I was able to get it off. And I'll just stick some glue on it and flip it around. So, no harm, no foul. It looks totally fine. Now, after I get this centered and put down in the correct place that I want it, I will just thread this little pitberry garland through one side and then just twist it around. So that's what's going to help it stay. Now, if you do plan on hanging this somewhere that it's going to get a lot of wind or anything, this wire will stretch and get longer and longer. So you may want to use some twine in that case, but I just thought this was really cute. It's just going to hang maybe on my pantry door or just like layered on another wreath or something. But I think for a cute little design, this turned out so cute. What do you guys think of this one? Do you like it? This next project is a Pinterest-inspired project that I saw somebody had built one, and I had out of like scrap wood for a tree, and I thought, oh, I have a Dollar Tree that would be perfect to do this. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps on this. So I just traced this Dollar Tree wood tree on some paper that had a really barnwood looking finish on it, and you can kind of see I just kind of cut it out there. And then I love Elmer's glue for projects like this. You guys have seen me use this dozens of times, if not more. And I just make sure to pay attention to the edges, so all of the edges will be down really good, and then I just go all over the surface of the tree, and then I just place this down and line it up as best as I can to make sure that no edges of the wood are showing. I just use my brayer here to make sure that it goes on completely flat. I personally like using this glue stick better than I like Mod Podge. I feel like I have a much higher success rate with it, and it is I've never had a problem with it peeling up as long as you're using the Elmer's purple glue. The Dollar Tree glue that I've seen that's like the Jot brand, I have not had as much success with that. So I just sanded the edges to make sure the paper was clear, but it did make the edge of the paper kind of look torn or that white color. So I just went over the edge with a little antiquing wax, and while I was there, I just made sure to go over the back of it to give it a finished look. And then you can see I just put a little bit of glue into the little hole that was up there, and then to kind of fill it in, and then just put a little antiquing wax over it. So now I'm going to build a little box to go on the bottom of the tree here. So I just had this little square. They do sell little squares at Dollar Tree. This was just a scrap square that I had. And I cut some paint sticks down to be the size to go on the sides of this here. Now, if you wanted to skip this step, you could use just a little sign like that. They sell signs like that at Dollar Tree that you could use all day long and it would work just fine. I just didn't have one the exact size that I wanted. And so I thought I would just kind of make my own and show you. So I did just kind of eyeball when I cut these. I kind of laid it down on my painter stick and drew the line of where I needed to cut it. I actually, these little painter sticks were thin enough that I could cut them with my scissors, but you could use like a little hand saw, miter saw, or if you have a like power miter saw, that would work as well. So now I did just have to file down one of the sides because I didn't quite get the measurement right. So that's why I was using my emery board there to kind of sand it down. And then I just give this a coat of that antiquing wax because it matches that wood on the tree absolutely perfect, I thought. And I just cover all sides of it with that wax. So now I'm just going to take this tree and I'm going to add some glue to the spots where that box will touch. And that's how I am just going to put these two together here. And so I just press that box right up against the tree and I'm going to make this a little candle stand. So I'm just showing you that you could just put a plain candle in there and embellish just a plain candle. That's one of the faux candles that I love from Amazon. I'll link those below in my description box. But I wanted to kind of make a little jar candle to put a little tea light down into. And this jar just came from Dollar Tree. And I just removed the lid and I had some Dollar Tree ribbon I was showing you, but I have this ribbon that I have on my Christmas tree and it kind of matches my decor a little bit more and it just came from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to layer it with that red buffalo check on the bottom. And then actually this green ribbon, I believe, came from JoAnns. So I'm just letting you know that. But I love this green ribbon. It's not quite an evergreen. Like it's kind of like, I don't know. I just love the color of it. And so after I glue those two together, I'm just making a little sprig with some little pieces of picks that I have kind of disassembled. And I just wrap some twine around the top of those to get them all pieced together. And you could totally skip this step if you wanted to. That ribbon looks beautiful as it is. And using some twine that I tie on the top there, I'm just tying that little piece of evergreen on there. And then I will snip all of the tails off there because I decided I did not want any of that. And then I just kind of put a little glue on the back of that evergreen there so it would glue to the front and it would stay put and wouldn't move around. And then I just made a little shoestring bow to go on this. And I thought that was so cute. You could leave it like this and it would be absolutely beautiful. But I did have these little stars from Dollar Tree, and I'm sorry that you can't see it right here. You'll see it in the finished product. But I just put one of those stars at the top of the Christmas tree, and then I thought this is some baker's twine that I have, and you can get this at Dollar Tree also. But I like to buy the red and white on Amazon because you can actually get more of it for a better deal than you get at Dollar Tree. The other colors you get at Dollar Tree are definitely a better value, but the red and white you can get a little bit cheaper other places. But I just wrapped it around the tree and then just tied it off. And that way I didn't have to glue it on. So if I wanted to remove it or I didn't love how it looked, I could do that. But look at how cute that is. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I absolutely love this. I did add a little tea light into that jar. You cannot see it in this photo, but it adds the most beautiful glow, especially with all those little ridges and marks in that jar from Dollar Tree. So if you find that jar, pick it up to do this project with because it's beautiful. I think these little cutting boards that you're finding at Dollar Tree right now are absolutely adorable. These are found in their crafter's corner, kind of in the unfinished wood stuff that they have. I've seen them at my Dollar Tree several times. Actually, a few of the Dollar Trees that I have been to over the last few months, I've seen them. So hopefully you've been able to find them at yours. If not, I always just tell people just keep checking. They'll eventually come. And always check dollartree.com also. But remember on dollartree.com to ship to your store. It saves you a lot of money instead of having to pay shipping to your home. Now, that being said, all I'm doing on this is I just paint the bottom portion white and I go up the handle just a little bit, and then I'm painting the rest of the handle here with black. And the black covers really good. This is just chalkboard paint. I only needed to do one coat on that. The white I did have to do 2 coats. And then I'm just taking a paint stir stick. This is one that I had used. I'd cut the end off for another project. I just cut it down and I just eyeballed the size. I'm making this cute little snowman and I just wanted this to be kind of the brim of his hat. And so I just eyeballed it. I don't have an exact measurement on what I did. I just laid it down and kind of went, that looks like a good size, and that's where I cut it. So I just kind of wanted a little ski wampus there. I thought that looked kind of cute there, and just using some hot glue, I put that down on the cutting board itself, and then I just glue that little brim of his hat right down there. And you can kind of see it coming together hopefully already. And I did just get a little bit of smudging on that black, so I just kind of went over it with a little what was left on the brush there to cover that up. Now I have these half beads. These came from Amazon. I can link them down in my description box below. And these are just kind of a smaller size, and I thought they would be really cute to kind of look like pieces of coal for his eyes and his mouth. So I'm just going over them with some black paint and just making sure I get all of the edges and everything. And then on another paint stir stick, I am just cutting out a carrot nose, and I'm just kind of going from the end and cutting in towards the center at an angle, just like the shape of a carrot. And it just cut very easily with my scissors, and I was able to get that shape out. And then I did go in and sand it a lot with my emery board to get rid of any rough edges or anything like that. Next, I just glue with some hot glue the eyes and the mouth on, and I just kind of space them out just by eyeballing it. And on this cute little carrot nose, I'm just using some orange paint to give it that carrot color. And then after I get that completely covered, I want to make some little ridges on the carrot just to make it, give a little dimension, make it look like an actual carrot. This is just some mineral chalk paint that I'm using with just a little flat brush here. And you just kind of, just what looks good is what I'm doing. You could completely skip this if you were a little bit afraid to kind of go in or do this, and I do like a couple and then a grouping of 3 and just kind of offset them all the way down the edge of the carrot. Now after that completely dries, I go back in with a little bit more orange paint and just kind of cover them to dull them down so they're not quite so stark, and that way they look a little bit more like they're part of the carrot, if that makes sense. I don't know. I always say if that makes sense, but hopefully you can see what I'm showing there. Sometimes I can't find the exact words that I want to use. And then I'm just going to use some hot glue on the back of this carrot, and we're going to glue it onto the face of our snowman. This cute little wooden snowflake came from a pack of wooden stickers from Dollar Tree. I just cover it with some white chalk paint, and then after that dries, put some Mod Podge on it, and I put a little bit of glitter on there. I just thought that would be kind of a fun little thing for this little snowman's hat, to have a shiny little snowflake there. This little piece of holly came from a pack of 12 from Hobby Lobby, and then I glue that on, and then I glue this cute little snowflake on the brim of his hat, and I thought that was just the perfect little embellishment. I just think this little snowman turns out absolutely adorable. He would be perfect for a tiered tray, or just anywhere you wanted this cute little snowman to smile back at you. I love this adorable sign at Walmart that says Santa Stop Here. It's little, it's cute, it's perfect for a tiered tray or something, and I just thought it was darling. And last time I was at Dollar Tree, I picked up this little round sign, and I thought this would be the perfect dupe. So I'm first just giving this a coat of red chalk paint here. I quickly realized you can still see those letters through there, so I'm painting a layer of white over to act as a primer to give a little bit better coverage. I did have someone leave me a tip to try to do gray paint when you're painting red over it, so I'm going to try that next time. That's a great tip, so I'm definitely going to give that a try. But you can see that red paint when it goes on, it gives me much better coverage, and you can't see the words underneath there at all. Now, if you did want to spray paint this, you might be able to do that and get a little bit more even coverage or a little bit more of a shimmer to it. So that is an option as well if your weather allows you to do so. Now, the one at Walmart had this cute little topper on it, and the one from Dollar Tree did not. So all I did to fix that problem is I just grabbed one of the little barbecue skewers and then a little teeny finial. I get the finials at Hobby Lobby. I can leave a link to the ones on Amazon, but they come in a pack of like 5 or 10 or so, and they're perfect for adding like feet onto little risers or things, but it was the perfect little finial for the top of this sign. So I just used a little bit of my strong like super glue there to adhere that on. I thought that would work a little bit better than hot glue since it is metal and wood that I'm working with. And then I had painted it white before, and I thought that added just the perfect little touch to the top of the sign. I went on Cricut Design Space and found a couple fonts that matched pretty close to what the original inspiration piece had, and I just went ahead and did the Santa Stop Here, and then I also added a couple of little asterisks and little dots on there just like the inspiration piece had. I tried to match it as close as I could, and I think that it turns out super cute. This would be perfect if you have like an elf that visits your home at Christmas time to make sure that your little elf knew exactly where you wanted Santa to stop. It would be perfect for a tiered tray. I think this turned out so cute, and it came from Dollar Tree. And I don't recall exactly how much the one at Walmart was, but I think I did a pretty good job recreating it. What do you guys think? These cute little drawer boxes come from Dollar Tree, and I just love them. The one side has a design cut out of it, but we're going to cover that up. Now, I actually did this exact DIY just with different colors in a tiered tray that I did last year, and it was a huge hit. Everybody seemed to like that idea because it was like kind of like a 2-for-1. So you could even separate them and have one for a tiered tray and make another one for another one. I just thought it was cute to have them both together, so it's kind of like 2 DIYs with one item. And so I'm making little packages out of these. So all I did was just glue a little bit on the inside of the box. So that's going to be the bottom where the opening is in the box. So it will sit on the base of your tiered tray. And then I just wrapped that ribbon around. Now this ribbon, I believe, came from, it was either JoAnns or Hobby Lobby. Those are usually the only places that I typically buy ribbon at, unless I get it at Dollar Tree. And this is, I know this isn't Dollar Tree. But I just thought that candy cane was really, like, pattern was really cute there. And then I just do it over both sides so it looks like it's crisscrossing. You could even cut out some cute little scrapbook paper if you wanted to use. If you don't have these drawers and want to do this on just a cube, that's great too. I like this because you get to do 2 out of 1, like 2 DIYs out of the one item that you buy at Dollar Tree, versus if you bought cubes, you'd have to buy 2 cubes to do it. And then I just do a cute little bow to stick on the top of here. You can embellish these any way you want. I mean, be creative. One of these, the second one that I do, I use a little bit of greenery, but you could make a cute little scrap bow. You can put all sorts of little jingle bells on there or something. I mean, go ahead and have fun with it. It's going to be on your tiered tray, and so you can do it however you want. So to make the little bow on this, I did just loop some ribbon around and tie it off in the middle with some baker's twine, but then I thought the baker's twine didn't look as good, and so I just cut a little strip of the ribbon off to put down the middle. Now I wanted some little tails to come off. I thought that would make this bow look really full and everything, so I just cut a little length of ribbon, and I'm just tying that with some baker's twine in the middle, and then I dovetailed the ends, and you can see how cute that looks. And I just glued the little loop bow on top of that, so it looks like this package is completely all tied up. So moving on to the second little box that I have. Now this one I am using Dollar Tree ribbon on, and since it is not quite thick enough to cover the design, I'm just going to double it up on the one side. You could double it up on both sides if you wanted. I ended up liking a little bit of the more of the white space showing on the box itself. So the same process, I just put a little bit of glue on the inside of the box, and I fold that ribbon around to the other side, and then I'll put a little bit more glue down, and then I will glue it. I mean, it's pretty basic and easy, and it's so, I mean, I think these turn out so cute. But you can see I just double that ribbon up so it covers up the cutout that's on the box there, so you won't ever see that. And you can even position that into the back when you do your embellishing on the top, so that way if it's against a wall or anything, you're for sure not ever going to see that. And here I just do the one little piece around. I thought that just looked really cute to have it tied up this way. And then I have, this is from a boxwood pick that I bought at Walmart. I love these boxwood picks. I've used them in so many different things. So if you're there, definitely grab a couple of these because you can use them year round. Some little pine boughs would look really cute too. This is just what I had a little bit of that looked really good. And I just kind of keep checking. I made this little bow to go on the top just by looping the ribbon together a couple of times, and I just keep placing that bow down and thinking, oh, I can put a little bit more greenery on here. And I just do the process back and forth, and just using a little bit of glue on the stems of these little boxwoods right here. I just keep placing those down, and then I place them down in the front there, and then I finally put my cute little bow on there. And I thought it looked really cute. It would be really cute to leave like this, but as I was walking away from it, I found these little berries that I had sitting there, and I thought, well, this would be really cute to add just a little grouping of berries on there also. And so I just add those on there just with a little bit of hot glue. And I think this turned out absolutely darling. Like I said, you could separate these up or use them both together, but these are perfect little packages. They are great little tiered tray fillers, and they're darling, and they're so easy to do. I would like to thank you so much for taking time to watch this compilation mega video. It really means a lot to me. Did your favorite make the list? Did you see something new that you enjoyed? I would love to know down in the comments, either one of those. I always love reading what you guys enjoy seeing. I hope that you have such an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.